Meeting. It's May 7th, 2019 at about 7:10 p.m. and this is the Georgetown Zoning Board of Appeals. We're opening business meeting. The Board of Appeals will conduct this meeting according to rules laid out in Chapter 48 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Robert's Rules of Order, and its own particular set of rules entitled Rules of Procedure, a copy of which is on file with the town clerk. Another copy is available from the clerk at this meeting. This meeting is being tape recorded for the purpose of taking minutes. Once minutes are approved, the tape may be taped over. First order of business, we have a warrant for that we all need to sign for the postage meter deposit. Anybody want to make a motion?
Well, Mr. Chairman, there's a warrant for the ZBA posted meter deposit that Patty put the spreadsheet in the packet. And it has to keep a minimum $50 account on there. So she is asking for a warrant for $250 for the ZBA postage meter deposit. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the warrant.
Second.
Hang on, sorry, Paul. Classification account 5324300, vendor number 6492 for the ZBA postage meter for $250.
Second.
All those, any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll go ahead and pass that around.
Oh, oops, I forgot a pen.
Yep.
Thank you, thank you. Would you know whose that is just by looking at it?
Well, it's like,
Well, maybe
I don't-
Jeff's.
No room for.
What? Oh, did I do that? Sorry.
My God,
My
you animals.
fantastic
You guys think
handwriting.
you're rock stars or something. Baseball players.
We need to approve business and hearing minutes of the April 2nd, 2019 hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from April 4th for business as well as the hearing for Pelton Drive.
Second.
Thank you.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
None, right?
Opposed, none?
And
Okay, what's next?
Correspondence.
So the only new correspondence we have is the traffic study related to the hearing that we're continuing tonight for 46 Carlton Drive. That's not going to get read into the record, obviously. What else do we have?
Everybody got the new.
Yeah, we distributed the new application for Black Swan Country Club. That hearing is for next month.
And then item 4 is the only other one.
I don't have any items that are reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting. That's all I got. Anybody have anything?
Nope.
Motion to close business meeting on May 7th.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. We will take a 15 minutes until we open the, continue the hearing for 46 Carlton Drive. It is May 7th, 2019. It's about 7:34. This is the Georgetown Zoning Board of Appeals, and we are continuing tonight with 46 Carlton Drive, G Mello Disposal, map 15, lot 46. And I'm Sean Dean. I'm Chair of the Zoning Board, and tonight we'll be having voting members Sharon Freeman. We have with us counsel for the town, Tom Lane, Jeff Moore, Paul Schillen, Gina Tebow, and Dave Kapnis. This time, Counselor, I'll turn it over to you. Do I need to read?
Yeah, we never did.
Go-
Oh, you
I
already
did.
read that.
I
Yeah,
did these
okay.
in the beginning. We don't need to open it. We're just continuing it.
yeah.
Okay.
I already did this.
The notice?
Yeah, we already read it.
Yeah, we already read the legal notice previously. And the new correspondence here we have is the updated traffic impact analysis report that I'm sure will be covered tonight. Wait
Mr.
for
Chairman, would
these.
you like me to read these into the record?
Yes, please, that'd be great, Jeff, thanks.
I'll take care of the. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to read into the record the following exhibits that were presented at the last hearing date. Exhibit 1, context plan sheet 1 dated 2/21/2019 by Moore and Cameron. Exhibit 2 is existing conditions plan, parcels 46 and 63 dated 8/11/2004. Exhibit 3 is schematic site plan layout plan dated 2/21/2019. Exhibit 4 is schematic grading and utility plan dated 2/21/2019. Exhibit 5 is schematic erosion and sediment control plan dated 2/21/2019. Building elevation and floor plans, Exhibit 6, proposed floor plan dated 2/14/2019, CM Brothers, done by RKB Architects of Braintree. Exhibit 7, proposed elevation, side and front, CM Builders, dated 2/14/2019, also by RKB Architects of Braintree, Mass. Exhibit 8, proposed elevation, side and rear, again, CM Builders, dated 2/14/19, RKB Architects of Braintree, Mass. Exhibit 9 was a traffic study by GPA Greenman Peterson. Submitted April 29th by email and hard copies for May 7th, 2019 hearing was Exhibit 10, the supplemental traffic study by GPA Greenman Peterson dated 4/26/19, and we've all received a copy of that.
Thanks,
Okay,
Jeff.
that takes care of it.
Good evening. For the record, you just want to have the applicant state your name.
Jason Mello, G Mello Disposal.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Nancy McCann. I'm an attorney for the applicant. With me tonight also is Scott Cameron, the project engineer, and Rebecca Brown, the project traffic engineer.
Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Good to have you.
Would you like me to take
Please,
off?
yeah,
Okay.
that'd be great.
Mr. Chairman, you were not here at the last meeting. Have you?
Watched the video, signed
Watched
the
the
Mullen
video,
roll.
done the affidavit and the whole thing? Great.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We appeared before you at the April 2nd meeting, and we made a very full and detailed presentation at that time. You gave us a lot of time that evening, and we appreciate it. I'll just do a brief summary of the project and what we are seeking from the board for this project. This is a project requesting a special permit to allow the construction and operation of a transfer station facility on Carlton Drive, property located at Assessor's Map 15, Lot 46. It is an approximately 14.5-acre site. It is currently undeveloped, although it had been the subject of 2 prior Board of Appeals special permits back in 2004 and 2005 for heavy industrial type of uses at that time, but those projects did not go forward. The applicant is under agreement to purchase this property and to proceed forward. So we are located in the Commercial C zoning district, and we are seeking a special permit for the use. The design of the property, what has been laid out and what was reviewed with you at the last meeting is fully compliant with regard to density and dimensional regulations. So what we are seeking is a special permit for the use of the transfer station facility itself. And we have requested that special permit 2 ways in the alternative. The first is a special permit under the zoning bylaw because the transfer station use itself is not a use that is specifically called out and permitted in any district under the schedule of uses, and therefore under section 9 of your zoning bylaw, you can grant a special permit for a use that is not specifically permitted in any zoning district in the town, but is in keeping with other industrial type uses that are permitted by special permit. So we are requesting the special permit in that regard. In the alternative, given what a transfer station facility is, it does in fact meet the definition of a light industrial use, which is defined under the zoning bylaw, and therefore you could grant a special permit for a light industrial use, that use being the transfer station. So we've given you alternatives to get to the special permit use required for this application. Regardless of the special permit, we of course will be seeking approval from the Conservation Commission as well as full site plan approval from the Planning Board. As we described to you at the last meeting, we went through what essentially a transfer station is, which is a place where residences as well as commercial trash and recyclables and construction material is brought onto the site. It is processed and sorted, and then it is removed from the site to either a landfill or a recycling facility or some other disposal site. Nothing that is brought onto the site remains on the site for longer than 72 hours. Typically, it's off-site within 48 hours. So, again, this does fall within what a light industrial use is under the definition on the bylaw, which is assembling, processing, packaging, and transporting of materials. Well, that's essentially what is done here. We take in material, we sort it, we separate it, and then we transfer it out to the end facility. Again, either recycling center, landfill, disposal facility. Unlike most light industrial type of uses, however, this use provides a huge benefit to the community, having a transfer facility. It is a private business with a huge public benefit. We have discussed previously with you with regard to the current Mellow Disposal site, all of the benefits that Mellow Disposal brings to the town, and the municipal benefits and good community service, as well as disposal services that Mellow Disposal brings to the town. So that is an aspect, the municipal benefit is an aspect of this use that is not found in most industrial type of uses. The Carlton Drive location, as I mentioned, has not been developed. So it is a site that allows us to start from scratch, design an efficient, state-of-the-art type of transfer facility on this site. We're not trying to retrofit. We're not trying to utilize existing structures. We've got a site that is industrially zoned that we can now lay out for good circulation, internal circulation, and appropriate location of the different components, the scales, the recycling areas, the transfer station itself, all to make a better experience for those who use the facility, and to allow and address some of the issues that exist at the current location with regard to traffic intermingling, commercial traffic and residential traffic. We're able to deal with that on this site because we've got, basically, Scott was given a plain piece of paper and said, here, design what really works, what will really be effective, what will meet all of the requirements of DEP and Board of Health, and come up with a transfer station that's going to function very well, and provide the public convenience as well as provide a good experience for the folks who use it. We also have before you a special permit under the Water Resource Protection District. The transfer station is specifically a permitted use in the Water Resource Protection District, by special permit. And how this has been designed meets all of the design and operation guidelines and requirements under 165, Section 34, and there will be no degradation of the water supply. And during our presentation and during all of the information that we provided to you in that application, we've demonstrated that, that this does meet the criteria for the special permit. We did review the criteria for the special permit at the last hearing. I'm happy to go through that again if you'd like, for both the use special permit as well as the Water Resource Protection District special permit. You do have favorable recommendations from the planning board as well as the fire department. And you have, as you mentioned, you received the updated traffic impact analysis that was done by GPI. And that was a supplement to the initial traffic report that was provided. Traffic, of course, falls within the purview of site plan approval, which this process will have to go through. But there were questions certainly regarding traffic at our last meeting, so we provided some supplemental information for you. And really, at the end of our April 2nd meeting, we were asked to look at turning movements, Carlton Drive and Route 133, which we have done, and we'll present that to you tonight. Both Carlton Drive and Route 133 are public streets. The intersection is a public intersection, and it's an existing intersection and existing streets that supply and support the commercial C zoning district, as well as the other businesses along Carlton Drive. So that is, as we discussed at the last meeting, an existing condition. However, we were asked to look at it, look how it lays out, and we've done that. So I think at this point, that's basically the summary. I didn't want to represent everything that we went through at the last meeting. So if you would like, I would like to turn this over to Rebecca Brown, who prepared the traffic report for you, and she can go through that information with you.
Mr. Chairman, could I make one comment about, because Nancy has done a great job of reviewing what it is we're here to review. So, and I was speaking with town council after the hearing last time, and just reiterating why, you know, the decision that we need to make and the findings we need to make. So if I could just take a minute, kind of review that, and you've already done it, but basically, this use is not listed in the schedule of uses. So unless we consider it to be light industry, and so it's worth, I think, just refreshing the definition of light industry, which is fabrication, assembly, processing, finishing work, or packaging in such a manner that noise, dust, odor, vibration, and similar objectionable features are confined to the premises. We've seen a lot of light industry uses come before this board for one reason or another. So that's the definition. So I think the real question before us is, we would need to find that this is in fact light industry, I think, and then we would have to make the typical special permit findings that we would always need to make for a special permit. In the alternative, we would have to find that this is similar to other, similar in character to other allowed uses in the district, which, as I read through it, it would have to be similar to light industry. It's the only, unless you have another interpretation of that, as I look at the other allowed uses by special permit here, light industry would really be the most similar. So if we either find that it is light industry or similar to light industry, one or the other, and the bylaw allows us to make either decision. And in either case, we would have to make appropriate finding and then make the special permit findings on top of it, if that makes sense. Is that? Do
I
you
agree
with
with you.
that
I
summary?
do.
Okay.
Yes.
But I think it's worth keeping in mind what the definition of light industry is, and then as we talk about all this stuff, does it kind of fit? Or is it close, I guess? So, sorry.
And we would say that
No.
it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Please, yeah.
Sorry, my voice may go in and out a little bit
No worries.
while I'm speaking, but, so good evening. For the record, my name is Rebecca Brown, here with, from Greenman Peterson. So the last time that we were here, we did present the findings of our traffic impact study, and I'm not gonna spend time going all the way through that again. But I did want to focus on a couple of comments that we did hear at the last meeting. Nancy touched on those a little bit already, talking about the turning movements, into and out of Carlton Drive. And then the other component that we also looked at was, we were asked to take a look at how much traffic is actually being generated by the existing facility, because the numbers that we were providing to you previously were an ultra-conservative estimate of what the future project would generate. And that traffic was superimposed on what's out there existing, so we were showing you as if this was a fully new site. But since there is an existing facility right down the road, we were asked to count that and kind of show a comparison of what the existing site generates versus the proposed. So we've done both of those items, so I just want to kind of walk you through those two. So since Nancy touched on it first, we'll take a look through the turning movements first, and hopefully everyone can kind of see this. So I think the one that was of the most concern to people was for the large transfer trucks that would be coming in to pick up materials and taking those off the site, and how they would get in and out. So this diagram here is showing you the largest vehicle that we would anticipate having coming onto the site. This is a WB65 truck that would be for the transfer trailers. Coming in off of the highway and making that right-hand turn and coming down onto Carlton Drive. And as you can see, the truck would sweep out onto the exiting side of Carlton Drive, and then sweep back over onto the inbound lane on Carlton Drive. One of the questions that was asked last time was, how wide is Carlton Drive, and is it wide enough to accommodate trucks that would be passing each other if there were to be a transfer truck coming in and another one leaving at the same time? So we did look. Carlton Drive varies in width a little bit as you go along, depending on where you are, but at its narrowest point here, it's about 26 feet wide, which gives about 13 feet for a truck to pass in each lane. Typical travel lanes on a road are anywhere around 11 to 12 feet, so that's more than adequate for the two transfer trucks to be able to pass each other as they're coming in. We did take a look at tightening this turn up a little bit to get the truck back onto its own side as quickly as possible. The turn we showed last time was a little bit more sweeping, but this is as tight as we could possibly make it, keeping it on its own side on East Main Street, which is required based on Mass DOT's design guidelines, and then letting it sweep as it would out onto Carlton Drive. So it shows that for about 88 feet back from where the edge of the travelway is, the vehicle would have to kind of sweep out and then pull back out. And as I mentioned, this is the worst case scenario of the largest truck. It's anticipated that about 20 of these trucks would come in and out on a weekday. On a Saturday,
20 in, 10 in, 10 out.
no,
Or
20 in,
20
20
out.
out,
Okay.
yes, 20 vehicles coming to
Yeah.
the site and leaving on a weekday.
And these would be your trucks coming in to pick up?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Yes, correct.
Would
So-
you be able to control the schedule and with which they come in? Like they're all gonna come in at once, or do they? Are
No,
staggered?
they're always scattered.
Okay,
So, or staggered, I'm sorry.
okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, and
I
that,
think I read somewhere, when I went through the study, is that you do have some flexibility to say, well, we can avoid these trucks during school bus times.
Mm-hmm.
So
That is correct,
You do
yeah.
have some wiggle room.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
so
think
there
what
were-
Jason meant when he said they're staggered, they're not all coming in and going at once. But they are his trucks, and so he's able to control what time of day that they come throughout the day. So if there's a period of time when they shouldn't be coming for one reason or another, he's able to deal with that.
Mr. Chair, can I ask one
Please,
other
yeah.
question on that point? Can you control the direction that they exit the facility? Can you control them to go left, or is that not adequate for where this material needs to go?
The majority of it does go left.
Okay.
Most of it goes back to 95.
How many is most? I'm just, is it, I'm just wondering if we can avoid having those trucks come through downtown, that's all. Is there a way of doing that, or?
I can't guarantee it 100%, but the majority do go towards 95.
Because everything coming in obviously is not within your control, but these larger trucks
Right.
are.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that, that we did count actually at the existing facility, was the direction of, the passenger vehicles that are coming in and out, as well as the trucks that are coming in and out. And about 70% of the trucks, were headed to and from the highway, and 30% were, headed sort of downtown. But the large majority of larger trucks are headed towards the highway. It's more your smaller trucks that are headed in town.
And that 70-30 split, that includes all, not just these
Not
trucks,
just the
that's
transfer
all
trailers,
the
that's
larger
correct.
roll-offs and all the other trucks that you noted in the study,
Yeah,
right?
the small commercial trucks, yeah. That includes all vehicles. So yeah, so as I mentioned, this is kind of showing the worst case scenario here. This can be controlled for the time of day when, the vehicles come in and out. I know last time it was mentioned that the school bus does come in and kind of make a loop around here, blocking the road, for students to come and get onto the bus, and then it kind of loops back out and goes out. So we can try to avoid those times when the school is making that, pickup and drop off, so that there's no conflict between the school buses and, the trucks coming in. And then on the Saturday, we would control it so that no trucks are coming in and out, during hours of receipt of materials, so that we would minimize that conflict between the passenger vehicles coming in and out and these transfer trucks.
I have another question
You have a
about
question?
the school, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but
Yeah,
it's
sure.
really very relevant. And I know one of the abutters is here, and there was a concern about the school bus pickup. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, sir, but I know you live next door. Your driveway is further down the road here.
It's right there.
What's your name again, sir, just for the record, so we can get,
Joe Taroni, 2 Carlton Drive.
I'm sorry,
Joe
Joe.
Taroni, 2 Carlton Drive.
So your driveway is further down Carlton Drive, but you're being required to your student is being required to be picked up on 133 essentially, is that right?
The bus turns around right there in the cul-de-sac.
So he's gotta
Yeah,
come
it
down
comes in and-
So my driveway's like right.
further, yeah, it's
Right
way
down
down there, right?
Yeah. But you also, like, every other day have them double wide
Sorry,
trailers.
where's the pickup?
Right here.
Child?
Yeah, basically he's
Oh.
getting picked up at the intersection of Carlton Drive and 133, which, regardless of this project, to me, could potentially not be necessarily a safe situation for that pickup anyway, because you've got a lot of trucks coming in. And I think it'd be worth, and I'm happy to help pursue this, a discussion with Chief Cudmore and perhaps Carol Jacobs about whether or not that bus can actually pick him up on his driveway. Which would mean he'd come down and turn around in the cul-de-sac at the end of Carlton Drive and then come up and pick that child or children you might have multiple.
Would you mind if we explored that? Is that okay?
It might be something you'd be interested in. I don't know. To me, that, regardless of this project, that's not a terrific situation over there for a
I
pickup.
just like, every other day that Cambridge put the new company, they have double wide 18 wheelers, like with flags on them, that take up the whole road, delivering their parts out of it. So, the street's so narrow, I really do not think it's safe. They'd have to like literally use all my land to make that safe, where they would come all the way across like this and there's no red light there or nothing. 6 years ago, my wife was trying to take a left into there and got hit, and the guy ended up into the woods just from taking a left with the kids in the car and everything. There's no red light there or nothing. I'm not trying to put anything down, but it's not safe enough to make that sharp turn. Especially if you're coming out and you gotta take a left like they're saying towards 95. It's dangerous.
I think the point is what Jeff brought up, and I think it's a very good point. Why can't the bus, instead of doing the U-turn, right there, which seems to be the focal point,
Mhm.
where it could be most potential for something to happen, why can't they go down, make the U-turn at the cul-de-sac, and come right up the street, okay? And that door is right on that side for students to
Stay on the
get right
driveway,
in.
out of the way. I mean, if that's something that you feel would be beneficial to you and your families from a safety standpoint, I would be
I'm
happy to
talking
pursue
about
that
the
with
safety of, I mean, not just my
Well,
kids, everybody. I
yes,
don't
too.
see how you could put 2 trucks side by side down that road. Go out there and do it. It won't work.
But the bus is in control of the town.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. The bus can go down there. But just people driving down that road, I don't see how it would work. Taking that left, you'd have to put a whole big wide turn to make that safe with a set of lights and everything to get in and out of there safer. I'm just saying how it is. That's the truth. It's dangerous there.
You know,
It's a sharp turn.
But I do want to bring that up as an alternative, perhaps.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So, yeah, so this is the next diagram. This is showing for the truck that's leaving the facility. Again, this is for the largest truck here, that transfer trailer that would be leaving the facility and making that left-hand turn out onto East Main Street, headed back towards the highway. Coming in the opposite direction, you can see here, this is a single unit truck. This would be like your roll-off truck or something like that, that would be coming in. It shows that this vehicle would be able to turn and enter in on its own side of the road without interfering, even with a transfer trailer that would be coming out at the same time. So these are kind of your next largest vehicles that can come in and out of this facility, and they can get in and out at the same time without crossing paths. And this is just showing another one. This would be your typical roll-off truck coming in, again with a similar roll-off truck coming back out. And you can see that there's clearly no overlap in the path. These would also be similar in size to a bus, if the bus were to pull in at the same time. There's fairly similar lengths coming in and out. So these do show that all the vehicles would be able to get in and out without overlapping paths, with the exception of the very large transfer trailers that, again, we can control when those are coming in and out of the site.
So what happens with looking at this arrangement here? So when you have a vehicle, either whether it's a car, truck, what have you, that's at the end of that intersection waiting to turn right or left, that truck's got to wait, obviously, until that lane is clear.
Correct, yeah, the truck would have to pull up and wait here for the vehicle to come out.
Particularly the
We haven't
left, the
shown it on
left-hand turn,
here.
obviously. If he stops, the right-hand turn is now clear, obviously, he's blocking the, right?
Right, yes.
But the left-hand traffic may sit there and you wait however long until there's enough room to get on. It could be, how many cars could queue in that area? Yeah, I mean.
In this area right here.
Yeah, if you've got
It's
2 or 3 cars.
88 feet, so roughly 3 to 4 cars would fit in that area.
So you'd have to wait
Depending
for all
on
of
how
them to clear and
long,
for no other. And this is obviously the scenario that is sort of the most concerning. And I know you have a limited
Right.
number of these types of trucks, but I'm just wondering what the scenario was there. You'd have to wait and for that to clear out, obviously.
He would, yep. Yeah, and based on the analysis that we put together for the updated analysis, it shows that during those AM and PM peak periods, there's only estimated to be 1 or 2 vehicles that would be queued up here at a time. So potentially if they were coming in during those times, although they'd likely want to avoid the AM peak anyway because that's when the bus would be coming in. But they would have to wait for those 2 vehicles to clear. What's not shown on here is that this whole thing can basically be shifted in this direction too, so the truck can pull onto this very wide shoulder here. In fact, you can see that there's a passenger vehicle right here sitting in the shoulder. So the truck could pull onto the shoulder and make that sweeping turn so that traffic on East Main Street can continue to pull behind them or continue straight through while they're waiting to be able to make their turn, if they needed to.
Is there visibility to see if something's oncoming the other way? So in other words, he starts to make this process and along comes a car this way.
Right, so the
Somebody's
truck
got,
would have to
like,
pull
like
up
the
to
image
about
of-
this point right here to be able to see far enough down the road, to be able to tell that, a vehicle's coming and will be in his way to be able to turn.
I mean, it's not the first truck that's come down there, they do it all, it's not, the other factors, obviously, the other uses down there have these trucks coming in, I'm just not there when they're pulling in. so.
How many tractor trailers are going in from the neighbors, you think? Does anyone have any idea? You,
Existing,
It's all night long.
huh?
We've got trucks idling there all night long, sitting there sleeping, waiting to drop their loads off. And it's not light industry there next door at all.
One sec, sir, we'll definitely have every member of the audience, no, you're good, come up and get their chance.
I'm just wondering, comparatively speaking, is 20, it's funny, because we talk about 20, it seems like a lot, but over an 8-hour day, that's nothing.
Right.
But,
It's 20 plus.
right, 20 plus another 20 or 40, or I have no idea. And I don't know that it's necessarily relevant as to what the existing tenant or business is doing as compared to what you're gonna do, but it's very hard to ascertain exactly, like, I guess in general terms, I wonder, we obviously prepare for the worst, but hope for the best, and we have a situation where I can't imagine that even if it was an exact 90-degree intersection, that it would be a whole lot better. Even with a light, it's still going to hold up traffic. I mean, it seems like without a traffic light, we're probably better off, because things can flow a little bit more, and depending on peak hours and things like that, I'm not really sure that the angle of the road, granted it's difficult, it's not gonna get any better if it were a T, would it?
You know, while Rebecca is looking things up, when we started to think about this, this seems to be not an unusual design or situation for an intersection. It seems like every time I see a tractor trailer, and that's the only one we're talking about here, where our trucks would go over that swing, is with a tractor trailer, the
Right, of course.
WB 65.
Right.
It seems like every intersection that I encounter, and certainly many in town, they all do that. They take the swing, and that's just
Yep.
the way it's designed. And what Rebecca is, I'm sure, is going to get to is that what you're seeing here is a design that meets the Mass DOT, Mass Highway Design Standards.
Right.
So this isn't ill-designed.
Right,
It isn't incorrectly designed. It meets the design, and it's a very similar situation as you have in other intersections in town.
Right.
We happen to be in a position where we can control the time that our trucks are going in and out.
Yeah.
This intersection serves other industrial uses, because this is an industrial zone, where perhaps that luxury isn't available, but for this use that's before you, we can control that timing, because the only tractor trailers coming in here are ours. And so we can deal with that, but.
And I have a very small light industrial use, in my business. And we have 4 employees, a very small warehouse space. We bring in 6, 7 of these trucks a day, easily, on some days not. And most people think of a truck, it's full of stuff that has to go out. In this case, it is full of stuff. In most cases, though, any other light industry use that may go in there, more, not necessarily, maybe by right, or some more typical, I'll say, industrial use that you might think of, the assembly shop or high-tech, something that might go in. They have to have raw materials coming in every morning or every day or so many times a week, palletized stuff. And it might be coming from various vendors around. They all have to be dropping their stuff off. They have customers, and if it's palletized, it has to get out, whether it's one pallet. I have a customer that might need one little pallet here. They got 5 pallets lined up. They all want to use 5 different carriers going to different places in the United States. You got to get 5 trucks in there. They're empty, but it doesn't matter. You still have a truck coming in. So I guess my point is that, I would kind of agree with this, that for the facility of this size, 20 trucks in and out of this type, this type of traffic, to me doesn't seem like it's, and it is controllable. We don't know what might go in there, if not this, that could have, 50 a day, 60 maybe. So, and obviously the neighbors have quite a few, as saying, they've got stuff coming in and out of there all day long.
I
So.
think Paul's question is, what else is going in and out of there? Are there other big trucks?
Yeah, so I just looked at our numbers. It looked like in the morning hours that we counted, which was from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., there were 5 trucks that came in.
Tractor trailer?
Tractor trailer trucks, yeah. In the afternoon peak hour, there was only 1 that left, and that was from 3 to 6, which most industrial uses tend to close up somewhere around 3 or 4. So that's not uncommon, and we likely wouldn't have a whole lot of trucks that would be coming out during that PM peak hour as well, so.
But there's 14 acres. How far down does it go? So you have 14 acres
Yes.
per site.
Mm-hmm.
Where
This
does
is,
it start?
okay, we need the other site
Way
plan.
down the road, yeah.
Yeah, the site is actually way down the road. This is the intersection with 133. This is the site, it's at the end of Carlton Drive, so, yeah.
Yeah, actually
That
this
was-
shows it a little bit better.
So where's the intersection we were
this is
just talking about?
133.
It's
So
there.
this is the intersection that we're talking about here.
And your
And
property
down
line is
here
where
is
it
our
goes.
site.
Yeah.
And it goes to
Yeah, so
where?
there's these two industrial buildings.
Any here?
No.
That's yours? That's not
No.
yours.
No, just this area hatched out in yellow.
That it abuts 95.
I actually looked at the area. There's no way to put another road in there. I drove down there 2 or 3 times back and forth, and there's just, because ideally it'd be nice to change it, but it's just all wetlands. I think it would only matter if you got way down close,
Yeah, this
and
is
they're
all
never gonna
industrial.
allow a road there.
Right, right.
And I believe this is all, like, this little piece in here, and all this is all conservation.
Right. Right.
Why couldn't they widen the road on the other side?
On Carlton Drive or on 133?
Like on my land? That'd be the only safe way to do it.
Well, it,
That's, I'm sorry, this was part of my thought was, what could be the plan if we all find, this is, being on the ZBA, my issue is that I feel responsible for like 20 years out when we make these decisions. And usually we're pretty good, but sometimes we get, you know, we end up not making the greatest decision because we just could not foresee what was gonna happen. What could be a contingency plan if we just find that it's just, so much traffic is building up? Is it widening that road, I guess I would ask you, Carlton Drive, to allow for double lanes exiting Carlton Drive? Would that help?
I don't
Yeah,
think you
I mean,
have
it's wide
space.
enough now for double lanes exiting at the end here. I mean, you can see that this is
Yeah, I know.
Carlton Drive is extremely wide at the end
Right.
here. I mean, the width here is almost as big as what we're showing here, that 88 feet wide. Widening out in this area doesn't really help you with, as far as the angle. You're just creating this kind of swath of pavement
Yeah,
now,
right.
for people to come in and out, which for the average passenger vehicle can kind of relate to higher speeds if they can whip around that.
It's quite obvious that they widen that for that very reason of industrial trucks going in and out of there.
well, this is
That's the whole point.
it's an industrial street,
Right.
and that really is what it is zoned for and designed for.
Yep.
And I understand and appreciate your comments, but also as another added layer is site plan review.
Right, I
Which
agree, yeah.
I would expect, this may well go out to peer review for
Right.
a number of things, traffic probably being one of them. What we've demonstrated to you is we've got the site distance, we have a design of an intersection that we don't control. This is the town's intersection. However, it does meet Mass Highway Design standards for this, and what we've further been able to demonstrate here is as we make the swing for the one type of truck that the swing is an issue, as it is with most intersections, we are back in our lane before we get to the residential driveway. And I think that was something that we were wondering about also. So we're back in our lane, we have enough distance, and I know when you're out there and you're looking and you don't have the tape measure, it's sometimes hard to figure the distance, but we've measured it. There is enough distance to have 2 tractor-trailer trucks passing comfortably, if you're a tractor-trailer truck driver, passing comfortably on Carlton Drive. So that's not an issue. So we've demonstrated those items. Peer review, traffic review under site plan review probably will also come. But as an industrial use, it's a fairly low generator of large tractor-trailer trucks. As you said, you've got a smaller business and you've got 5 or so trucks coming in a day. So, and we can control our traffic. There are other users on this street that, if the town has an issue, would have to discuss that with
You
them.
know, and
But
there's some empty lots down there as well, so,
Yeah.
and it's all zoned the same.
Right.
So, do I think this intersection is good? No, I think could stand a lot of upgrade, but we're not, you know, the town zoned this the way it zoned it. This is a municipal street. This is part of Georgetown's, you know, purview. It's part of our infrastructure. It's not great, but it is zoned for industrial use. And my point was that if another industrial use goes in there, it might be even more
right.
Potentially, we don't know.
Yeah, sure,
We don't know.
absolutely.
And you're absolutely right, Paul. I don't-
Perfectly
But it is
legal.
zoned the way it's zoned. Our findings have to be, you know, is this light industry or is it not?
And it
Or
meets
is it
Mass
similar?
DOT standards, so how are we to say that's not okay?
Right.
Yeah,
And I don't think it's
along
great,
that-
but
That point
I
of
don't
meeting
put all that
Mass
onus on them, I guess is what I'm getting.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm talking over you.
Yep. I was just gonna say that along the line of meeting Mass DOT standards, we did provide the standards in our, most recent memo, so it is included in the appendix, but their standard, they have standards for an arterial roadway, which would be like East Main Street, and turning onto a local street like Carlton Drive. And they actually allow even a single unit truck on that type of turn to be able to turn out and use the entire width of the roadway. So we're not even proposing that a single unit truck would need to do that. In this case, we're better than what Mass DOT allows by their design standards, because a single unit truck can make it within its own lane. It's only these large WB65 trucks that have to sweep out and make that turn, which is perfectly allowable by their standards, so.
This is crazy. Have any of you guys been down that
Well,
street?
Sir, we'll definitely, I'll let everyone in the audience have a chance to either, you know, come up and say their piece or rebut whatever they feel is, they don't agree with, but we have to keep the hearing moving.
I've got a question about the other section of your study. Oh, you're gonna keep going, so I'll let you.
Yeah,
go
so
ahead.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that everyone's okay with that before I kind of moved on to the next part. So I did mention that we did do traffic counts at the existing facility, which is right up the road. And this is kind of showing what we actually counted. So we counted on Saturday, April 6th through to Monday, April 8th, which Jason can relate to, was an extremely busy weekend with a lot of materials coming in. We had previously estimated approximately 200 residential vehicles coming in and out of the existing facility, and what we counted that day was 300 vehicles coming in and out. So you can see that it was a very, very busy Monday for traffic coming in and out of the site. So this is kind of showing a breakdown of the heavy vehicles that were coming out. So this includes your small commercial vehicles, the roll-offs, the transfer trailers, all of that type of vehicle that would be coming in and out at the existing facility. The passenger vehicles would be your residential vehicles, and employee trips that would be coming in and out.
Out of those, do you have you probably don't, but did you have a breakdown from Georgetown residents versus non-residents?
We did not have a breakdown of who was from Georgetown. I can say that we did count at the driveway as people were leaving which direction they were going. About 45% of the passenger vehicle trips were headed in town into Georgetown, and 55% were headed towards the highway. As far as the trucks, it was about a 70-30 split, so 70% headed towards the highway and 30% headed in town. And then this column here is showing for our proposed facility, how many trips we expect to generate. I did mention that previously we had estimated about 200 trips on a weekday. We actually updated that based on the existing facility that generated on the day we counted about 600, so we increased that number as well to account for similar numbers. We're not anticipating the residential trips to grow significantly. What we are anticipating is that because of the larger size facility, they will be able to accommodate more trucks coming in and out.
So you're not
So that's why.
proposing any increase in, or you're not anticipating any increase in passenger vehicles, but obviously.
That's right.
Right.
You
Yep,
don't
so the-
anticipate any increase in 606 to 610?
Yeah, so there may be slight increases in the number of residential trips, but for the most part, the area that they're looking to capture is similar to what they're capturing now. Really what would happen is that they would have improved services, better traffic flow, so that they can get in and out a lot more quickly, a lot more efficiently than they would today, but really they're intending to still draw from the same area and still do about the same tonnage as far as the residential stuff. But they will have a lot more accommodations now for the trucks to be able to handle a wider variety of trucks and process those a lot more quickly. So that's where we're really looking to see that increase. And that's no different than what we presented in the last traffic study. But in this case, we were assuming that all the trips would be new, and now we're showing what it is actually generating at the existing facility.
So most of those, oh, I'm sorry, excuse me.
Yep.
Most of those passenger vehicles, I assume they're going to the dumpsters and doing the drop-off.
Correct.
Recycling and
self-service
the-
piece,
yes.
Recycling drop-off,
Dumpsters,
okay.
yeah.
Majority
Yeah,
of those.
a few of them may be bringing in, large furniture items, things like
Mhm,
that.
The passenger
um,
drop-off.
that have to
Would you now have a
wait,
new
but-
lane for that
Right.
in your, and so that would all be dropped off in the building now, as
Correct.
opposed to the dumpsters?
Mhm.
Is that
Yes.
right?
Yep, that's correct. Yep, so this last column here is showing the net increase in trips, so you can see that there is very little increase in the number of passenger vehicles that we would be anticipating on an average day. The majority of the increase is from the commercial vehicles. And when I say trucks, these aren't all the WB65 trucks, obviously. This is a variety of different trucks, so it could be the smaller commercial trucks, could be pickup trucks, carrying a trailer, those types of things, could also be coming in. Small contractors and whatnot. So based on this information, we did an updated capacity and queuing analysis to show what the operations of the intersection would look like. Obviously, based on very minimal increases in traffic in the weekday, evening and morning peak hours, there was almost no change in the traffic operations as a result, other than obviously right at Carlton Drive, because all of these trips are new to Carlton Drive itself. And the Saturday condition was where we saw the biggest increase, and that was only an increase of about 3 seconds per vehicle at any of the movements turning on and off of the highway ramps, and an increase of 1 vehicle in queue on any of those movements. On Carlton Drive, obviously, there's a little bit more of an increase because, again, all these trips are new to Carlton Drive, but the operations there wouldn't change significantly from what we had provided you in the previous study. They're actually very similar because we had previously assumed all trips were new to Carlton Drive, and we're still assuming that they're all new. The only real change is that some of the trips that were passing by Carlton Drive have now been removed from the through movements because they would make the turns in instead. So what we saw was that the delay on Carlton Drive went down a little bit on the Saturday. So we were previously estimating queues of about 6 vehicles on a Saturday, and that number went down to 4 or 5 vehicles on a Saturday. So the queues went down just slightly from what we saw before. And the delays were right around 95 seconds on a Saturday, and now they've gone down to about 65 seconds on the Saturday conditions. So very, very similar to what we saw previously. Any questions about this information? Okay. So that's essentially what we've provided you so far in our updated analysis. Nancy,
That's
if you
good.
wanted to summarize?
Mr. Chair, I just want to say that I appreciate a traffic study that's presented in such a way that you can actually read it, understand it, and see what's going on. We've had several that we've had before us, and I'd sit there and, read 3 pages and everything, it was a mess. This is really well done. I'm not talking about the result, but I mean, the way this was presented was very user-friendly, and I appreciate you guys re-summarizing that data for us. It was nice.
Happy to do
Sometimes they
that.
get exorbitantly complicated, and you do need an expert to come in and just try to interpret what it is you're saying, so, anyway, I for one appreciate it, because I read through it and I
Thank you.
actually understand what was going on.
I think that's what we wanted to present to you. I don't think there were any other open issues. You had asked for some clarifications, some additional information. I think we've provided that to you, and I think specifically the information with regard to the design of the intersection does meet standards. We're able to make the swing within the designated lane for the vehicle with all vehicles with the exception of the tractor-trailer trucks, and that's a situation that you have in most intersections in town, and you have existing at this intersection now. This is not going to be something new or something created it's going to be an issue at that intersection that is common to almost every other intersection that you look at when you're talking about a tractor-trailer truck. In our case, we're able to control it a little better than most other users would be able to do.
Open it up to the audience.
Yeah, I have some other questions
wanna
about
ask-
the layout, but maybe, yeah, we can deal with the audience first,
Okay.
whatever you want to do.
Anybody want to come up from the audience? Sir, you had some comments. You just want to come up and
I just feel like, I don't know.
state your name again one more time for
And
the record.
sign in.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, sign in too, sir.
Bill Taroni, 2 Carlton Drive. I just feel like it's not gonna be good for the town. Something bad could happen there. In my heart, I feel like it's not wide enough at all. And that sharp turn, I take it every day, something has to be done. It has nothing to do with my house, my property. I don't see how Massachusetts could approve of something like that. The turn is too sharp, and the traffic every day is backed up all the way to my house to get into the center of town. Now it's gonna be even worse. No one's gonna be able to get home. It's gonna be bad, I'm telling you. You'll regret it. You're gonna regret it.
I think what's important to remember from the traffic study and from the hours of operations that Mellow operates, the afternoon peak, when people are trying to get home, Jason's business is generating no traffic at that time.
Yes, sir. You mind just coming up and signing in if you haven't already? Your name and your address, please, sir.
Steve Sadler's, Heaven Hillside Drive. I'm speaking on behalf of myself as a resident. I am on the Board of Selectmen, which my term ends in a week, so I won't be having any type of deliberations on this anyway. So I just wanted to say first that, you know, I think in the time that I've been in town, I think J. Mello has been a great neighbor. You know, we haven't heard any issues, you know, involving the company. You know, I think it's great from what I read on the contract that they have with the town. They do provide benefits for the town, you know, and they do have, up, I believe, at the high school, all the municipal locations. I think the only concern, well, there's a couple of concerns that I have. One is obviously the traffic. You know, considering that it is going to be an expansion of the facility. So I can see the numbers here. Going from 50 to 500, it seems like that's an awful small increase to me anyways. But my question, I guess, twofold would be, one, is there plans, and this may not impact the decision here of the board, but if I could ask the applicant, is there any plans to continue that relationship with the town of the municipal services? Because that, I would assume, you know, it isn't on town land, so that would go away. And the other question I had is there any way that we could count, or can get a count of recycle stickers for that facility? So that would give us a good idea, a rough idea of how many residents versus non-residents there are at the facility. And maybe we can discuss how, you know, we may be able to reduce some of that traffic. Again, that's my concern. I think, you know, not as a business, you know, I think they've been a great partner, as I said. Just more, it's pretty congested in that area, I think, that we all know right now. So if there's anything that we can do to mitigate it, that'd be great.
Thanks.
Thanks.
And I'll let the applicant or counsel on their behalf answer the question relative to continued services for.
The services that I provide to the town go far over and above what's actually in my contract, and I have no intentions of stopping doing that. We work very closely with DPW and Pete Durkee, and we provide a lot of labor throughout town to help clean up, and we provide free disposal for the town, for all the municipalities, and that will not change.
So do you intend to enter into an agreement with the town to continue providing that service?
I would have
or-
no problem with that.
Yeah, okay.
And then relative
For the
to this
record, he's
sti-
referring to the fact that they provide the trash collection for basically all the municipal buildings in
All the
town right
municipal
now.
buildings,
Schools,
the schools get a huge discount, basically, because they have to get picked up every day of the week. But they do get free recycling also. And on top of that, we do a lot of donations in town and things of that nature.
And you collect recycling for the town, so it's trash and recycle pickup, like for town hall?
Yes.
Yeah, it's both. I interrupted. You had-
no, it's
you had
okay, there's another
about-
question about stickers,
Oh.
for recycling stickers.
I
So
didn't
we
quite
issue-
understand that.
Yeah,
We issue residential stickers for recycling because recycling has gotten so expensive, but we agreed with the town to not charge the residents. So Georgetown residents can bring their recyclables in and drop them off for free, where Rowley residents or other towns cannot. So we basically, they show proof of residency, we give them a sticker that goes on their car that states that they're a resident. I don't know that number off the top of my head, though.
How much is it if you're not a Georgetown resident?
It's $1 for a bin,
$1 for a bin.
yes.
Is it a luggage carrier bin, like the airport?
Like an
that's
eight-
like a certain size or as big as
Your
you
basic
get?
18-gallon recycle bin.
Those blue
Buckets,
bins.
yeah.
Those like blue recycle bins?
Yes.
Yeah.
And trash is like what, like $5?
I'm
Trash
basically
is
trying to quantify
$1
the
for a
benefit.
small kitchen bag, $3
Yeah.
for a contractor bag, or larger, the black bags.
If I could, Mr. Chair, that question was more towards, I think the board here had asked what the split was.
Yeah, the split was between
You may be
residents
able to
versus
give some
non-residents.
idea, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Roland Spofford, 29 Library Street. In full disclosure, I do work for the company a couple of days a week. And just in terms of the number of stickers, I can tell you when we did start to issue those to, when we started charging for recycling to non-residents, I believe we've issued well over 600 stickers to residents, so just in terms of what you're looking for.
But they all showed up on Monday.
Just kidding.
It's the only thing in the
600
record that week.
Yeah, I guess. All 600 of them showed up on Monday.
Yeah.
Did I miss anyone? Sir, in the back, do you wanna,
Done?
No, I'm all set.
are you good? Okay.
Did everyone sign in? Yeah. you
Yeah.
signed in. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have some, you still with the audience or?
Nope, we're good.
Questions about the layout again. I don't know if we have a graphic that shows the
Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
layout of the facility.
Sorry.
Um,
Take them on here. What did I write on it?
So in the building, there's been some concerns about odor and so forth. I don't think we touched on it last time. The building, describe a little bit more about the building and the mitigation measures that are in there. So you have noise attenuation, obviously, by the building itself. Is it equipped with odor control as well inside the building?
Well, Scott is getting his plans out. One huge difference between this facility and the existing facility is that this facility will meet DEP regulations in that the area that we're talking about will be fully enclosed. So that in and of itself deals somewhat with odor. The second item is that the materials, anything that's brought in, will be taken off-site within 72 hours, typically within 48. And that is governed by the DEP permit for the site. But that makes a huge difference as well. There's nothing here that's going to stay on the facility. But this is an enclosed facility, and that really makes a huge difference, Scott.
I don't think I have much more to add unless you.
But you can say it as an engineer, and that'll.
So I'm just kind of curious how the odor is controlled, because, I mean, there was something that we touched on with the old site, not to bring that into this hearing, but.
Which
I-
is not enclosed.
Right, but the new design was gonna encompass some sort of an odor control system or something like, and I don't think we touched on it. Can you describe how that may be controlled?
Yeah, so for the record, Scott Cameron with the Moore and Cameron Group. So, Senator McCann mentioned, feel free to step in at any point too, because this is your business and you know this inside and out, but the building itself will be equipped with ventilation systems to ensure air quality, and that's building code and also to the DEP permit. The biggest way to control odor, especially with the household waste, which carries a lot of it, is getting it out of the facility as fast as possible. And that's where the turnover and the efficiency of the facility and getting it out of there within 48 to 72 hours is key to controlling that. If it is there and it is staying there, it's no different than anybody else's household garbage that sits in the garage for a week. By the end of that week, you can smell it from the neighbor's house. So that's a big benefit of this facility. It is fully enclosed, and it's not just the building itself. The residential drop-off area is also all in enclosed bins. So those bins are not open. They drop them off in bins that are closed up. So everything is contained. And that's a big, that's really the key.
How are those bins processed, I guess? We have a picture of them here somewhere.
If I may, before we get that
Oh,
far.
yeah, sure, yeah.
Once we get through all the board approvals, we then have to go to Department of Environmental Protection. And in order to get authorization to construct, they have many guidelines that have to be followed, being fire suppression, odor control, and dust control. So they mandate that all those things will be in there. And they have to approve the type of system that we propose.
So they're gonna require
Yes.
all of that?
Yes.
Okay. The compactors that are outside,
Yes.
how are those unloaded, processed, and so forth?
Those are picked up by a roll-off truck, and they're watertight containers, and they can either be dumped inside the building and then reloaded into tractor trailers, or they can be hauled off-site for disposal.
So the whole unit, including the compactor?
It's all one unit, yes.
It's all one unit?
Yes.
So that has to get picked up by a truck outdoors?
Yes.
And then backed into your building?
Yes.
dumped, and then put back in place, essentially? Yes. And you do have the ability or the potential to process household waste here now. In other words, if you're picking trash up residentially now, I believe today you're not bringing that to the existing facility.
Correct.
Which limits the amount of tonnage anyway, so you might not want to do that.
Correct.
But in this facility, you would have that ability to do that, is that right?
I would have the ability, it's not always cost-effective.
Mhm. Right, makes sense. I thought I had another question about the passenger area. I think that was it. I'm just trying to get an understand for how everything works.
Mhm.
So you have a self-service drop-off area where all those vehicles are coming in.
Mhm.
Do you, the drop-off now, you have trash and recycle for
Correct.
residents. Do you also offer leaves and yard debris and that kind of stuff on a regular basis, or is that?
I do leaves, I do not do brush.
Okay, and you can drop leaves on I haven't been over there lately, but,
We have a small corral that you can drop leaves and grass clippings.
okay, on a regular basis. Is that
Yes.
gonna continue? I mean, do you put those in a compactor now? Is that, I mean, you would put those in a contractor under the new scenario?
Yes.
Compactor, I mean?
Yes.
Okay. And that would get dumped in the building and processed like?
No,
everything
that would
else?
get hauled off-site and gets recycled,
Okay.
as to not mix it with the trash.
Yeah, okay.
And what's the cost of that too? Just out of curiosity.
For the
Leaves.
leaves is 50 cents a bag for a bag. For like, the paper tall
Yeah.
bags.
I'm trying to think of compost. I couldn't get the word compost out, but that's what I was referring to.
Yes.
Is that what you consider? You consider a compost dump bin? or
It's
dumpster?
compost, but it's not food waste
Right.
compost.
Hmm.
It's strictly leaves and grass clipping.
How will the liquid residuals be mitigated? Because, residential trash, the bottles weren't quite empty, or,
Mhm.
and I know there's always something on the ground. And even though it's being transported within 72 hours, you're still gonna have liquid residue on the floor. What's the plan for mitigating that?
DEP will also regulate that, and there will have to be a, what do you call it? The tanks underground.
So, this type of building construction, they're required to have a floor drains, and those floor drains have to go to what's called an industrial wastewater holding tank. It's an enclosed tank, not confused with a tight tank or a septic system. This is completely separate from that. It's DEP regulated, and those are pumped out and all the way through a separate.
Understood?
All the stuff you.
Yeah, I almost
Then
wish
you
I'd never
need to
heard that
know- then you
before.
need to know.
How often does someone, rep from the DEP come out and review the site?
There's engineers that they hire to come out, and, that we hire, that have to submit reports based on their guidelines
How often is that?
quarterly.
Quarterly, okay.
It's It's actually up to DEP to determine how often. Some facilities are every 6 months, some are quarterly, but. And DEP can show up anytime they wish.
I just have a question a little unrelated to this site, because I know I think someone had asked it at the last meeting. What's the intention, if, say this is to go forward, what's the intention of your old site? How are you gonna close that?
That I would have to work with the town manager and the board of selectmen on.
Okay.
But that.
I know it's not related, I
Right,
was just
no,
curious.
but using the term, closing is like a term that we use for landfills and with a closure. That, again, is a transfer station. There's nothing being buried there or anything like that. It would just have to be cleaned up,
Yeah.
basically,
That's-
and the stuff
and
removed.
that's-
Ceasing
But
operation, I
that's
think is what
correct.
you
As-
really meant.
Yeah, like
Yes.
closing it down.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
What's the anticipated construction time for the new facility?
So, our permitting timeline, we would, next steps would be going before Planning Board, Conservation Commission, Board of Health would be along that, Mass DEP would be along that way. So we still have several steps to get through. We anticipate that taking, probably the balance of this year, looking towards a construction start around the spring of 2020 to build out during the summer, the good weather time of the year, when you want to be doing construction.
And finalized in 2020?
It should be a pretty quick construction. The building's it's a very simple building, goes up quick. Really, once you get the site graded and pad ready, the building will go up quick. The infrastructure is minimal, because it just doesn't use a lot of water, doesn't use a lot of electricity, doesn't have a lot of wastewater discharge. There's very few employees, so a lot of this is getting the site built and ready to go. I expect possibly by the end of 2020, allowing maybe sooner. You're looking at me.
Sooner.
Always done sooner, but
Yes.
I think we still have to get through that process of construction sequence and the schedule, and that would be vetted a lot more in the site plan approval process. That'd be part of what they're reviewing at the planning board.
How
And
tall is the building again? Like
35
how many stories?
Yep, 35 feet. 35 feet. So, not much difference in a two-story house with a ridge.
Two-story house with a ridge. Is this board discussion? Where are we?
I think we're moving in that direction.
Kind of.
I think we kind of went in there. Oh, well, no, because we're still talking to them.
Okay. Interesting.
I mean,
Any questions?
No, I have a comment. I mean, I think the design of this facility is great. I like the building, the enclosure, the idea that everything is gonna be indoors. Relating it to light industry use, I think of light industry typically as being something that's kinda done inside. I do have a concern, honestly, about the whole drop-off area. And what it's really attracting to this site. I look at this site really now as, I said it before, with the potential expansion of the existing site, is really now becoming a commercial, industrial, solid municipal waste processing and transfer facility. I think that's really what this is. And going from 50 tons a day to 500 tons a day with a zero increase in any passenger vehicles, obviously that's all industrial. So you have in the order of 30% of the vehicles potentially coming down Carlton Drive now generating 95% of the tonnage in the future. If you'll say say what 50 tons a day, half of that might be the residential drop off, half of it might be, so now of the 500 tons a day, 25 of it might be residential. You didn't add any residential vehicles. And so you got 95% of the tonnage coming in and out of here is on a very small, relatively small portion of the vehicles. From a light industry use, I mean, I'd like to see this being industrial and not retail or municipal. And I look at these numbers and I say, I also have concerns about not so much the traffic on 133. I know a lot of the traffic studies conclude, and there was a lot more conclusion than just that. The additional traffic flow on 133, I think, and Sharon has mentioned it before, that's not on them. And I think no matter what would go in down there, you know, the trucks and so forth, something's gonna go in down there eventually, and I think it could easily generate the amount of large truck traffic that these guys could. I don't think the intersection is great, but I don't think, like you said, at least it's controllable. And I'm looking at it, and I say, well, you know, the easy solution here is, I think, is just get rid of this drop-off area. You know, just take it right out of the equation. You know,
What-
you'd eliminate 600 vehicle trips a day during the week and 812 on weekend. I don't need a traffic expert to tell us that would be an improvement in, you know, not only would it not add a detriment as far as traffic maybe to the certainly that road and perhaps the town, but it would be a real improvement. And if you eliminate that whole piece of it and call this what it is, and let the 500 tons, you know, be occupied by 280 trucks a day, vehicles a day, not 890. And then he's going up and down every street in Georgetown once a week collecting trash, just provide curbside pickup to everybody in town for trash and recycling as part of this arrangement, and eliminate all of this extra traffic that is potentially gonna be drawn down Carlton Drive. I think from the site, it would be much more efficient. I think from the town standpoint, it would be far more efficient. What's happening is we're all being attracted to this site as residents to, you know, drop our $3 bags off. People don't necessarily want to sign up for curbside pickup because they can run down and it's $3 a bag. It's too cheap, you know? And it's not just Georgetown residents, it's Rowley and it's Groveland and it's whoever. I don't know what the numbers were. I'm not exactly sure, but probably half of those vehicles are coming from someplace other than Georgetown. You know, 300 vehicles a day on whatever day it was that they looked, and of the 890, or excuse me, of the existing site, 606 out of the 96 vehicles are coming, dropping their bags off in here. That's where all the traffic's coming from. And we have a very easy solution, I think, because they provide a great service in town here. And I think it would be efficient for them. It's nothing new that, you know, they're doing it already. They're providing curbside trash and recycle to everybody in town. Unrelated to the site and unrelated to the case, I think it would also encourage more people to recycle, because a lot of people don't want to pay for the extra recycling, so they throw it all in there, you know, in the trash. So maybe, you know, that's a side benefit maybe. But, you know, to me, if you would just kind of get rid of that, I don't know about compost, maybe you leave one composting in there for, you know, because that doesn't get picked up curbside, but,
I
you
understand.
know, it would be a cost, so I don't know, whatever it is, it's $400 a year
Do
per
you want
resident.
clarification, Council? You see-
I seem puzzled. I seem
Well,
puzzled
if you were to
because
provide
this is
complimentary
this
curbside
is the
pickup to everybody in
first
Georgetown.
that I'm hearing this. Either we have the pending application on the existing location, and now we have this location that we're now into this hearing process, and this is the first I'm hearing of the suggestion that we get rid of the residential drop-off, which has been a big component and seemed to be a very favorable component at the existing location. And we went to great extent to design a user-friendly residential drop-off and recycling area to be environmentally friendly and to encourage residential drop-off and to meet the need of those people who want to do residential drop-off. So I am very surprised to hear this as a suggestion to eliminate the residential drop-off. I have not spoken to Jason one bit about the idea of what that does to his business and if eliminating the residential drop-off, so he can either think about that or speak to it, but I'm very surprised at that thought. We really went to a great deal of effort to create a residential drop-off area.
Right.
And the only time we have the traffic, it's really very interesting, the way this business it lines up. You have the commercial traffic Monday through Friday. You have the residential traffic on Saturday and Sunday. And the two, for the most part, don't mix.
You've got 68% of the vehicles on a weekday, 68% are passenger vehicles. And you just said most of them are dropping those bags off.
On
Those
the
are the numbers that
weekday?
you just presented.
Okay.
Under the new scenario, you've got 610, 86% at the existing site. You got 96 trucks and 606 vehicles coming in.
Well, passenger vehicles can be pickup trucks, which would be contractors. That's not to
Right.
say that the
Well,
res-
that's fine, I mean, that's
residential
why I asked the
Right.
question. I agree.
Yeah, and
It's not all of them.
Maybe
but
another way to
it's-
ask is what's going over the scale versus what's just rolling up and throwing the $2 a bag or $5 a bag.
Right.
Out of that,
And that may be where the discrepancy
yeah.
is.
Well, I
we
think,
average
I think,
120 to 150 over the scale on weekdays.
right,
So 240 trips.
right, out of the 606.
That would take
during the week.
2 off the 6, so there'd still be
Still 400. I mean,
400.
I'm just looking at it from the standpoint of what did this used to be now? And it is a benefit to town, I get it, and it's 50 tons, it's very limited, and it's limited for a reason. Now, we're being asked to consider this as an industrial use, light industry use. Does typical light industry use attract 600, passengers, retail essentially a day, and it's all outside, it's not in the building? We sat here a couple months ago and talked to, the neighbor about their special permit, and we were very clear with them that all the processing had to be done in the building. No processing and no fabrication outside. In fact, we put it in the decision for the reason of keeping the noise down outside and so forth. They could store stuff out there, but they couldn't do any processing out there. All had to be done in the building. And I look at this and I say, this is great, except why are we doing this anymore? Why are we attracting all the residents of town to drop it off themselves when the potential is there to have it done for us in a much more efficient manner? The trash could still go, the residential, trucks could still come here to drop off. Granted, I don't know how many people in town subscribe to the service.
Yeah, to that
but-
point, what is the breakdown between subscribers
We have roughly
versus residential drop-off?
1,700 houses that we pick up curbside. I don't know what the
It's
total
probably
number of
half. I
houses
mean,
in
you
town.
got 3,100 households, say, in Georgetown, something like that. I mean, it wouldn't be cheap, obviously. I don't know what the cost is versus what they're charging. It's $400 a year per person. There's probably some margin in that, so what the cost would be, might cost them $1 million a year to do it. But, this thing's gonna generate at 9 cents a pound. You do the math, at 500 tons a day, 2,000 pounds a ton, 5.5 days a week times 50 weeks a year. It's a $20 to $25 million revenue generator just on the, tipping the scale. So I don't think, I'm not, I don't need a pro forma or anything, but I don't think it's unreasonable to suggest that it might be possible to do that. And I think it would be great. I mean, let's not all go down to Mello. Let's let Mello come to us. They're gonna have a contract with the town for pickup for municipal buildings. They could just add in the residential component to it under a contract.
Well, I wonder, do you care either way? I mean, granted, this is a change,
Huge change.
but, well, sure, it is, but I can understand Jeff's point, and what we're all pretending that we like it one way or another, but does it really matter to you? I mean, ultimately, you know what you want. And that's to run 500 tons a day.
In a DEP approved building.
Well, of course, that
Not
all stays the
outside.
same.
Sad.
So does it really matter to you one way or another?
It does. I could not afford to pick up the entire town for free.
Yeah.
One thing that I realize is I do have, and I'm a senior citizen now. Just remember. A couple of elderly neighbors that I do have, the reason they drive is because they say I just can't afford it. The way the taxes are going up. I don't know if there's a halfway. I understand where you're coming from as far as, can I do the whole town for free? I would assume it's not, fiscal.
I didn't know that's what we were asking for the
But
whole
I
town
don't
for
know. I
free.
mean,
That's what he just
So
said.
that's what I'm saying.
Trade-off.
Proposing it. Let's get rid of all this
You
traffic.
can spend more money remodifying this for that space you dedicated to it versus, there's savings in that where I might be able to say, geez, you know what? I can do some things for the town to try and get, and I just don't know if it's feasible for you right now with the number of trucks you got. That would focus on Georgetown and get the entire town picked up every week.
Boy, I feel like the town has already asked a lot. They signed a lease, a 10-year lease for a business, for a property that they wanted them to move out. Jiminy crickets. the town, I feel like.
No cursing, please.
Is that a curse?
No,
But,
I'm joking.
Like, really, I mean, I feel like the town has an obligation to do a better job of making this a viable solution. It is not an acceptable entranceway to Carlton Drive for the, so we look at this industry, not in the aggregate, but for each decision that we get, we're looking at it independent of the next one. And it's in the aggregate that's affecting the neighborhood. That's the problem. But each one we get, we base it on what's presented before us, and that's a terrible intersection. And if we've essentially forced them out of where they are, in which this town willingly signed a 10-year lease, we have an obligation to fix that problem, and it's not on them, it's on us. And to ask them to pick up trash for free is absurd. I mean, no offense,
I disagree.
but.
I think this is a huge project there. Then put it 50 tons. Why does it have to go to 500 tons?
Well, why did
Why?
we sign a
To
lease
make
if
it
we were
economically
gonna,
viable.
like, we signed a 10-year lease and said stay here, and then we effectively booted them.
No, the DEP is
All we're
requiring
trying
them to enclose and make a facility like this. It's the DEP that's requiring it, not the town.
Well, we should have never signed that lease then if we, I don't know. I mean, the town has an obligation to fix that intersection and to work with the businesses that are down there to improve it.
I think it's a no-brainer to say that if you're gonna have 1/3 the amount of traffic, it's less detrimental substantially to this site than having 100% of the proposed traffic, and you're talking about a lot of traffic.
Why is it all coming on them? Because there's a second in line?
Because they're
in the-
asking for a 500-ton, per day facility on this site, which is fine, I like that, it's good, I like the site. I'm just trying to look at
I get what you're
what
saying.
we're really
Creative
trying
out of
to
the
get
box
at
is
here.
good, but.
And I'm not, services to the town outside of what's related to this site, to me, is maybe nice, but I don't think it's necessary in our purview. I'm looking at related to Carlton Drive, the amount of traffic that's gonna come in and out of there on a
Yeah.
daily basis. That's not an industrial use, that's more, those are residents coming in, that's municipal use.
Yeah.
Which, could possibly be permitted on this site too, but that's not what we're being asked to.
But there's already passengers going in and
Yeah,
out.
there's some, sure.
Yeah.
There's people
So-
coming to work.
And you can't tell people they can't drive on a street.
Nope.
I
But
can
you don't
drive
have to
whatever-
attract that many. Look, it's an
the-
idea. I think it would substantially reduce the,
But in other towns where trash pickup is free, they pay for it in taxes.
right.
I mean, is the town gonna do something to supplement that? We have half of the households paying now because the rest of the households don't want to. And in some cases where maybe people can't afford it, maybe there's some sort of discount for people that can't afford it or something. I don't know. But I just don't know how you can expect him to take that burden when in every other town.
5% of the operating revenue,
So
5% haircut,
would
roughly,
you
I don't
give-
know, whatever the
Would you
numbers
give
are.
5% of your operating revenue away?
For
Just
the
for
option of
five
not
feet,
being
yeah.
able to do it at all, I'd certainly think about it, sure. I mean,
Well, also considering.
just
the
say no,
gross
or if you want, I
gross
mean.
increase.
Or increase by.
Yeah, or make it 100 tons and let's get rid of, I don't know. I mean, a tenfold increase? It's a tenfold increase. I have no problem with it. If you look at the trucks, 600, 700 tons a day, you're only gonna end up with 300 vehicles a day going down there. That'd be great. It's that component of it, like I said, that's generating 2/3 of the amount of traffic and it's contributing 5% of the tonnage that's going in and out of there. It's tiny. This is no longer a municipal.
But the traffic's
Thing.
the same as it is now. It's not increasing traffic.
It is on Carlton Drive. In that intersection, that stinks. And one
That
small vehicle
actually-
coming out to turn left, while an 18-wheeler or anything else is coming in, and it's a contributor for sure. I'm not putting the traffic burden on these guys, no doubt about it.
No, because driving out of there now is no different than driving on any other street. There's plenty of streets that are
Right.
tricky in Georgetown. So I don't, like, a passenger getting out of that street or getting in that street, it's not complicated. Would it-
But
Anything you
it-
can do to, lessen the amount of activity on that road, and again, what I'm thinking is,
It's an industrial
20 years down the
It
road,
is
you may be
industrial,
really happy
not
that you're not
retail.
dealing with all these cars all the time. Cause I don't know, it's possible. It's possible to, his point of leaving that 100% industrial is not a terrible idea. So I don't know whether, I do understand I prefer not to have my trash collected personally. I don't, I'd rather
Yeah, I
do
know,
it myself, because I just, it's just a personal thing. I've had them do it, and then I'd rather do it myself.
I like going to the dump.
So,
You do too.
so I like, yeah, I mean,
I
don't-
kinda wish this was a dump. I wish it was a town dump,
Sorry,
honestly.
it's not a dump. I mean,
I wish
love
this was
it.
just-
Now you're just blowing my mind. when you
No,
tell me
I mean,
that.
forget
I
about
love
the,
going to the
you know,
transfer
but it
station.
isn't, and that's not what we're being asked to
No, and I
do.
do
You know,
think
we're not
that
being asked to
40
make it
years.
that.
We certainly want to
Got
make,
the old
I
people
think
to
we
quit.
agree that, like,
Yeah.
some members agree that being able
Let the
to
crazy women go to the
increase
dump.
the tonnage we're talking about is a serious big deal, and it's exciting, and I think that's great, especially for you.
Thank you.
And I do see that there might be some strong benefit to just leaving that road industrial and not having all these cars lined up there all the time, especially in the weekends. It's particularly silly, and it's true that the amount of trash that is being delivered in each car is negligible. And I haven't heard of this either. This is the first I've heard of it too, and I see the benefits of it, as well as, again, truly as one member of this board, I'm ambivalent about whether we do that or not, because honestly, this traffic is existing. I live on East Main Street. It's ridiculous, and it has nothing to do with G Mello.
No.
So I
Exactly.
get that, but I would rather own a business that did not have a bunch of mom and pops driving up all day Saturday. I don't want anything to do with that. Now, granted, it might be very profitable. Might be profitable in that way. I don't know. You know that. So, and maybe it doesn't really matter to you if it's profitable on a busy Saturday or on a Wednesday when all these, small cars are coming up or whatever. It doesn't matter to you that there's a lot of traffic on that road. Again, it might, but if I were running the business, wouldn't be like the top of my concern. Being a guy that parks my truck and trailer right on East Main, and it's not aesthetically beautiful, but I have to do what I have to do.
We've always looked at it as we're providing a service to the residents that a lot of towns do not provide. Where if you're going to do a clean out of your house, where else are you going to go?
Right.
Aside from your normal household trash, which those numbers are minimal.
Right.
But if you want to get rid of a couch, you want to clean out your basement or whatnot, we're there to take care of it for you. There's not many places that can say that.
We'd still do that. You still have the residential drop-off lane, and everything gets dropped off in the building, not outside. You drop
they're
it off
not-
in the building,
But they're not Georgetown residents
I don't
dropping
care who's in
bags.
there, it doesn't matter, at least it's in the building.
It's just not the
And,
weekly
you know,
trash.
that's why I asked the question, what are most of these vehicles doing? They're going to these bins and dropping off the $3 bag of trash. It's attracting cheap household trash and recycle drop-off, which is generating a lot of traffic that I don't think he really needs the revenue from it necessarily. Take the 500 tons inside the building, forget about it outside. You still have the residential drop-off, you have a mattress, you clean out your whatever, you're either tipping
Right,
the
yeah.
scale or you're doing how much for a mattress, $20, and whatever it is, and you drop it off. But if everything is done inside the building and nothing is necessarily done outside, then to me, that's, first of all, it's easier for me to say that's industrial, light industry, because it's all being done inside, like we told the
Yeah,
neighbors they had to
yeah.
do.
Yep.
And it obviously would substantially reduce the number of vehicles coming in and out of Carlton Drive, which I'm not saying they couldn't handle all that traffic, I'm just saying it would be better. And it would be better if people didn't have to go across town to drop off their trash necessarily. If you don't wanna do it, that's fine, you don't have to, but at least you have the opportunity to throw it out front, let him pick it up, he's going by your house anyway.
I
No.
see, I'm sorry, I see what you're saying now, and that makes a lot of sense. I still think the town is obligated to do more than we're doing.
Well, I think providing this site as an alternative.
We didn't provide them
and-
with anything. We
Well,
told them you
by
can't stay where
permitting
you
it.
are, go look for it.
No,
I feel
well.
like the town is got a big pass, and shame on us, shame on the town.
I think this is a great benefit for Mello. It is a benefit for the town. I mean, it's a
I
great
think
project.
if we
but-
expect him to pick up all the trash, the town should be taking care of what it costs, because that's what happens in other towns. Why should he own that?
So now you're suggesting is that the people that are already having their trash collected, right? And our taxes are already high, they're gonna get higher, so
Yeah,
where's
but then we
where's
don't
the
have
wash?
to pay to get our taxes, our our trash collected anymore.
Where's the wash? How much more is the taxes gonna be?
I have no
Yeah, I don't think
idea.
Finance
Finance
committee
committee
goes
increased
that way.
taxes,
It's a
it's
little
not
easier
very
trash.
good right now.
You know, I don't know.
I don't know.
I look at the vehicles, on Saturday, trying to get in there, and I cannot believe that, I swear to God, 90% of them gotta be from somewhere else. It's not Georgetown cleanouts. So I don't think it's going to affect a whole lot. I
So-
really don't.
So make it Georgetown only.
Well, we wouldn't ever do that.
Why not? There's a lot of other places that are, you can't get rid of stuff unless you're a resident of the town.
Cause you can truck 500 tons out, it's a
Yeah, no,
perfect
you
spot
know,
to do it.
Georgetown only, you're gonna get 20 tons a
No,
day.
Georgetown only for residents.
Still, you're only gonna get,
For everything?
No, just the residential trash.
Oh.
Georgetown only.
well, that defeats the whole purpose. I mean, that's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I'm saying, is let's
Those
not
cleanouts,
attract
that's what
everybody.
everyone is
We're
doing on
contributing to the
Saturdays.
problem, is what I'm
Absolutely.
saying.
All over the
If you,
place.
if you, if you say that there's a traffic issue of any kind, either here, the existing, wherever, we, the residents of Georgetown, along with other residents of the town, we're contributing to that problem. We can't help it. We we're
choose not
compelled
to.
to not pay because it's cheaper to drop $1 a bin for recycle. I'm like, come on. Free if you're a Georgetown resident, it's great, but we're contributors. So all I'm suggesting, it's a suggestion, it would free up
Stinky trash
all
in your
of that.
car to save a couple bucks. It's crazy to me.
Everybody does it. Nobody wants, not nobody, but a lot of people.
Totally do it.
I mean,
It's
It's not
pick a
about
truck.
the money.
to a lot of people it is.
Oh, no, well, for me,
is.
it's
It's like the old fashioned
But-
hardware store.
But so here's the question. That's not what's in front of us. So, although it's a great idea, I'm not trying to tell you it's not a good idea. That's not what they've presented.
Is it light industrial? And that's what Jeff's trying
I'm
to say,
saying,
is he may say
to
no
get
because
comfortable with the
he's-
decisions we have to make, you could make an argument that this could overload, Carlton Drive with all this additional residential traffic on it. I mean, you gotta make a bunch of findings here. One is it light industry? Or is
And-
it substantially similar to, I don't wanna. put
You
words-
can't
is it-
say that it's gonna overload Carlton Drive because every car that drives around here my street's overloaded with people parking on it going to the spot. It has nothing to do with my street, but my street's overloaded, so you can't all of a sudden say that this is gonna overload his street, because all these cars drive on all these streets in Georgetown.
Yeah,
I disagree with
they
that.
are
This is a
increasing
dead-end road
600.
that's only got industry on it,
Right,
and
that's-
you're asking to put a facility
it's
here.
not
The
not a
demand is sitting
road-
right in front of you, it's there.
There's not a road that says you cannot come down this street unless you're industry. I have a street
but-
that said if it's not, there's no resident parking on my street, like, you can't, I don't think you can say
It's
that.
the way it's zoned. I mean, it's zoned,
I
for
just-
light industry use.
I disagree with that.
Well, it's a dead-end street that comes down to the highway in the industrial zone,
True Lane's a dead-end street.
in a residential zone. There's no reason for you to necessarily go down there unless you're going for residential purposes. See what I'm saying? There's a difference. If it were 50, 100 tons or something, and these traffic numbers would be substantially lower, I'm just saying there's a lot of it. And say, geez, this seems like, when we're looking at it, I say, geez, it's awfully big increase in the tonnage, but it's all coming from a very small percentage of the total vehicle trips. That's what's got me. I said, well, wait a second. If we're potentially worried about traffic and intersection and stuff, the elephant in the room is all these residential passenger vehicles. And how do you get rid of them? Don't accept it.
You should have brought this up at town meeting and asked people what they feel about that.
Well,
They can be here at the.
Sitting here, I think if that's a big part of the problem, is you're now talking town policy issues as to whether you want to have curbside pickup like that and no transfer station. We have 5 employees. If we did an industrial use here with a building that would be, or certainly could be larger than that, we might have 250 employees. We might have 300 employees coming in and out every single day. So there's your 600 vehicle trips right there. That would not be unusual for an industrial building of this size in this area. We've got 5 employees. The residential traffic, again, and we'll explain it again if we need to do that, Monday through Friday, while they are passenger vehicles, they are not residential bag of kitchen trash coming in Monday through Friday. It is passenger vehicles in that those are the commercial trucks, the pickup trucks, the other things. If you eliminate the residential drop-off area that you're talking about, you're not going to change that number, because that's not what's coming in Monday through Friday.
I just asked your
On-
traffic specialist, what are the 606 vehicles, what are they doing?
And she
They're
said,
they're dropping them off in the dumpster. They're dropping,
Passenger vehicles, so they could be.
Right, well, that's why I asked the
A
question.
contractor truck, or like contractor pickup truck or van or something like that that's coming in.
so that number would not
It's
change.
always-
You just said that number would not change.
Slightly.
So none of those people are using those dumpsters.
No, they are, but it's not a big
Then get rid of
percentage
them and it won't affect anything.
but I don't think it will address your traffic issue then. If you're saying you wanna have less traffic, so get rid of the mom and
Saying
pop coming in with their
I
bag.
don't buy that argument, that's what I'm saying.
You
Because
don't
they
buy what
absolutely.
argument, which one?
Of course I mean, there's some percentage of those passenger vehicles are certainly dropping off couches or
Yes.
whatever, I
Mhm.
certainly. But there's a large percentage of them who are not.
What is the breakdown, would you say?
during the week. I would have to look at it to give you an accurate number. I don't know the amount of residents that come in during the week, but it's a small percentage of that.
So they're passenger vehicles, but they're not residential kitchen trash and the water bottle recycling. So I think getting rid of that is not going to address that.
I'm just trying to quantify that. So-
Right. And as I said, any other industrial use is going to have far more constant, every day of the week, employee traffic. We have 5 employees that are coming in here every day. That's a very, very small number.
I don't see a 600, sorry, a 600 employee parking lot on that site.
It's not 600 cars. I think there's a misperception.
Right.
It's trips. It's
Yeah.
No, I thought you meant you could have 600 employees, perhaps.
No, I said 250 or 70.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
On the site, and I think that's very realistic, and that would get you up to your 500 vehicle trips, 600 vehicle trips a day.
in vehicles entering, because it's commuter time when they're coming into work at the school pickup time. These trips are spread out over the entire day. So it's not everybody coming in at the same time and leaving at the same time like a traditional business.
Mhm.
It's spread out. And if you've been to any modern facility, transfer station facility, because the one operating right now is not modern. When we talk about these are efficient and it's spread out, these facilities are unbelievable for the people that want to drive up and drop off their trash, and they don't mind taking that half an hour out of their Saturday to go and do that. You're not dealing with the queues on site because it can process and get out. There's longer queue times. All the impact is on the site itself, and we've got that designed to handle that. Yes, there's traffic coming in and out of that intersection, but again, we look at these numbers as 300 cars, and we think, oh, it's all coming at the same time, and it's gonna be a queue, and it's gonna be people lined up on 133 making turns. This is over an 8-hour span, hours of operation, 9 to.
7:30 to 3.
7:30 to 3, so.
What is the increase in efficiency in queue time? Because I know I've I've dropped off a couch, I did it the other weekend, and I was in line for a long time waiting to get
Right.
on the scale.
I can speak from personal experience because, I'll disclose, I'm from Middleton. We have a relatively new transfer station facility, and it's actually very similar to this. There's one single family home right at the entrance when you pull in. It's kind of a wonky entrance when you come into the site. There's a kind of a forked Y if you've been over there. But you get into the site and it's bins, you pull up, you drop it off, then you drive through and you go and you drop off. There's a place for recycling, that's separate, that's not even as efficient as this. You drop off recycling in one spot and then you go over and you drop off the household waste at another spot. I'll tell you, I've never been there for longer than 5 to 10 minutes. I've been in Middleton using that for 11 years.
So how
Is
did
that
they?
industrial, I'm sorry,
It's in an industrial park.
and it's
It's
rated for
mid-
500 tons a day of industrial
I
waste
don't
on
know
top
what
of it
the- I
all?
can tell you what the
Or is
rating
it
is, but-
meant for the residents of the
I
town?
can tell you, the residency in Middleton is higher than Georgetown. And there is curbside pickup that people pay for privately, but the vast majority in the community use the transfer station.
What did they do for the resident who lived on that road? Is that what you said? There's a resident much like this?
Yeah, it's an industrial road, it was built as an industrial road.
So they
They're
just dealt
accustomed
with
to
it.
it, yeah, it's not, you know,
It's always been an industrial road.
I know, but again, as each business individually comes to us, it's the aggregate, and I feel like as a board, we have some responsibility to look broader than the one that's immediate before us, but then the consequence of that is whoever comes third in line is the one who gets the brunt of the, well, that's a detriment to the
planning-
neighborhood.
Planning board's gonna have to sort that out, not
Yes.
us.
That's right.
Site plan.
I mean, you can think about it, certainly, and determine if it's detrimental to the town or whatever we
Well,
wanna
that's what's
do.
before us,
Well,
right?
that's
The
right,
use.
so you have a
Right.
right to vote however you wanna vote, but the
Right.
planning board needs to address ultimately, what you're suggesting is just an overload of that road entirely if two other industrial
And I
things
would
go in
argue that that is the town's responsibility,
Well, the
and we're
planning board-
shirking it by ignoring it.
there. Wow, well,
But
yeah.
shame, like it's crazy, but okay, I'm
You
ready.
know, the thing that I find ironic is that you've redirected your search from what you were trying to do right down here, the existing system, to is something that is I think traffic-wise probably a lot more effective than what you have currently. I think the facility is a lot more effective. So, granted, I understand your point is you're questioning whether it is beyond light industrial. That's what's happened here, is it's sort of morphed into something that this 500-ton situation and the redesign has turned it into something, well, they currently had though, didn't they? They had the same exact thing, so they were light industrial with a special permit then too?
Well, yeah, I mean, they've got the existing use over there, it doesn't, permitting of it is sort of irrelevant to this, but my point is, this isn't a small municipal facility for the benefits of Georgetown anymore. It has a component to it. Newburyport and Rowley and probably Middleton, I mean, they didn't build this with 500 tons a day. Georgetown residents, I don't know, we got 50 tons a day, maybe half of that is going to the passenger vehicles, I don't know, make up a number. I'd call it 25 tons a day, it isn't even close to that, I guarantee it. It's
Yeah,
probably
right.
5 tons. I want 500. And even if it's 45 tons, that's 95% of this now is gonna be industrial commercial. Let's just call it industrial commercial and make that what it is.
You had a
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Make a quick statement. So I think the spirit of the transfer station back however many years ago was established. I think the spirit was to provide a benefit to the town. I think here, and with all due respect to Mr. Mello, that this operation now is geared for only that business. It's not, the spirit of what we're trying to do here is not for the benefit of the town. So I think that's a big distinction that you have to make with this proposal here.
Well, I would disagree with that. I think Jason has indicated, and I'm going to hand this out again, the benefits that G. Mello has provided to the town and is agreeing to continue to provide to the town are significant. And they are not typical of what an industrial use coming before this board would be expected to give to the town. And we are talking about a use that involves taking in materials, processing it, and taking it off-site. That is an industrial use. That fits within your definition of an industrial use. And what we have requested is a special permit, either because you find it's an industrial use or you find that the transfer station is a use that's not listed in the schedule of uses and is similar in character to other light industrial processing uses permitted by special permit. So is it similar in character to other uses, light industrial type uses? It absolutely is. And I'm uncomfortable with the suggestion that this applicant needs to provide something free to the town in order to get this special permit. I am very uncomfortable with that. And Jason has now been asked to provide free curbside pickup to the residents of the town. That's not fair.
Well, he
That's-
wasn't asked, it was a proposal that Jeff threw out during board discussion, so he's not requesting that, and he's not.
And I'm just saying, I'm uncomfortable with that. I don't think applicants are typically asked to give that sort of thing to the town for free. And particularly, you have an applicant who already gives a lot to the town because of the type of service that he provides. And he's willing to continue to do that and wants to continue to do that. And that's what we heard when we were talking about the 203 East Main Street existing site. What can we do to make the residential drop-off better, easier, separated from the commercial type of drop-off? What can we do? And Jason went to great expense to come up with the plans that you have before you that show exactly that, because that was the direction we were given, that's what the board was looking for. Not an elimination of a service that has value to the community. And it is a small percentage Monday through Friday, and if we need to go back through our numbers and provide that breakdown to you, we will, of what the residential true mom and pop drop-off is in the bins Monday through Friday. Monday through Friday, the substantial drop-off is commercial type of drop-off. And we have the weekend where the commercial type of drop-off is less, and we have the residential service of providing that service for the town to have within the community as it is had for the last 50 years. But it's got to be financially viable. And this is a big project and a big undertaking. For an industrial use of this size, the traffic generation is not great. The increase within this corridor, in 133, is very small. The traffic is already there. There's going to be a slight increase, and we've provided those numbers to you. We think this certainly meets the criteria for a special permit. Either way you look at it, whether you look at it as a use that's not specifically listed, but is in the character of a light industrial use, or a use allowed within this zoning district, or you look at it as light industrial type of use, which is taking material in, processing it, and taking it out. And that's what's done. Other industrial types of uses, I don't think they're asked who brings their material in. But why is that a differentiation here? Traffic will be reviewed by the site plan process through peer review. We have demonstrated to you that we meet Mass Highway design requirements. We meet site distance requirements here, and the roadway can handle the traffic and the layout, and it's a good layout. What you're looking at is the use.
Sir.
Don Soini, 123 East Main Street. If you're looking to cut back traffic, I don't know if this is worth a mention or not, but you have stickers for recycling for the residents. We're free, and if you're not a resident, you pay, right? Could you have stickers for residents where you pay the same price, and if you're not a resident, you pay more money? Therefore, you may deter those from coming because they have to pay more money, and the ones that do come, we may offset for those out-of-towners that do come. And then you could even go to, if you go during the week, you have a different price than if you come on the weekends, in order to spread out your traffic. I mean, something that he might think of, if it's a traffic issue, it might, you know what I mean? Because
Talking about for
I'm
residential?
definitely a fan of, this was built for Georgetown back in 1981, and now all of a sudden we got Raleigh coming, we got Ipswich coming, but they pay $3 a bag too. I'd love to see them pay $6. Now they get a choice to make. They come, half of them come, they pay the 6, the other half don't come. Traffic's down, he keeps his fee. He still makes the same amount of money.
Good
Just
point.
something for traffic, I thought might help.
It's a tough condition to put on this thing, getting complicated.
Yeah.
This is a use, and I
Well,
would
we're
suggest to you
asking
it
for
meets the special
condition.
permit criteria.
Right.
Just food for thought, I don't think we're asking for a condition on that,
No,
but it's
I-
food for thought.
Yeah.
Because now we should get back to business, what we're here for.
Well, I plan to give you my comments, so.
I'm sorry, I was at home. I'm sorry.
Well, do we wanna vote?
Sure.
Do you need more information on the breakdown of the residential traffic?
I don't.
Yeah, I said it before, I think it's, we haven't had a third-party review of the technical analysis of the traffic. Planning's gonna do that anyway, I don't think we need to do that. I just think it's a no-brainer if you look at the amount of vehicles that are being attracted to that site for the purposes of those dumpsters. He's got 7 dumpsters over there, they're getting filled up. There's obviously a lot of traffic coming in, a lot of people coming in using that, whether it's recycle, whether it's trash, whether it's, I don't know what all else is going in there. And I think there's an alternative there. So, from that standpoint, it would be substantially less of a burden on that street, easily, without even having to do much math, because it's such a big component of it. How'd you come up with 500 tons versus it was gonna be 300?
It was 300. I had to buy the land.
So it's 200 tons a day.
Do you
I-
think?
Needs to buy the land.
I don't know if
Do you think
I'll
you're gonna
ever-
go right to 500 though?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, see, it's gonna be over time.
Okay.
It's the same reason when you design a highway, you design it to 20 years from now. I might throwing just random numbers out, so correct me if I'm wrong. You don't design it to today, you design it to what we expect it to be in however many years.
500 is what we felt that site in that size building could adequately handle.
In how many, did you foresee how long it would take you to get to 500?
I don't know if I'll ever get to 500,
Okay.
realistically. Because I had stated before, I didn't know if I'd ever get to 300, and if I did, it would take quite some time. But in order to have that flexibility, if it ever were to happen, that's what
Right.
we went for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, you have a hesitant board, obviously, no one wants to even talk now. So.
Should we do a
I-
friendly?
I'd like to
I wanna know if you guys wanna think about anything else before we vote.
I would like, since the ideas that have been floated, given the number of times we've been before you both on the existing site as well as this site, are brand new, what we're hearing. I would like to know how the other board members feel about this. Can we poll the board?
About what? About the use?
About the use.
Whether it's
About the application that's before you.
about
Informal
whether
vote.
it's considered light industrial or will something similar to that. The use is similar to that of light
I'll just
industrial.
say, I think it's not light industrial, I think it's a use similar to light industrial. That's my opinion.
I would agree.
Yeah, I'm there.
And Jeff,
No.
your point is that if we
It's not
were,
light industrial.
I'm hesitant on the exterior processing outside.
because
Like I said-
you wouldn't consider that similar to light industrial, that you, is that, I just wanna make sure I understand.
I think it's a concern. I think
Yeah,
it's a concern
okay.
for noise, I think it's a concern for additional traffic, and I think it's a concern, given the fact that we just did a special permit for a neighbor and said, and specifically told them and conditioned it that there would be no processing outside
Right.
the building.
That
So-
was like completely different than throwing trash in a bin. That's a
Okay, but it's.
machinery type of situation.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to
and-
interrupt you,
No, no,
but
it's
it's
fine, it's
completely
fine. I
different
don't-
noise than opening a bin to put a trash can in. I mean, that's really not that loud. Or throwing some recycles in a bin.
But it has the potential to be repetitive, a lot of, queuing again and again and again and again as people come through there. Tailgate slamming, I don't know, whatever.
No,
I'm just saying, it's that piece of it, to me, I started thinking about this. I like the building. I think the layout is great. Is it light industrial use? You could make an argument for sure, but that piece of it concerns me. And then I started looking at the request of the expansion and how much of that piece is really being utilized. It appears to be extremely small. And then I looked at the expansion from existing to now, from 50 to 500 tons, and essentially zero passenger vehicle expansion. So we know it's not gonna grow any. I don't know how many passenger vehicles are going in the building, but 100% of the people dropping off are passenger vehicles, I would imagine, right? You don't have a box truck coming into that little circle and emptying everything out. That's what I'm getting at. And to go from 50 to 500 tons and say that there's, a 10 times increase and there's gonna be additional 4 passenger vehicles coming down that street versus what exists now, okay. Then 50 tons, like I said, 50 tons today, how much of it is going in those dumpsters today? Not half of it. Very small, I don't know, whatever. Even if it is, like I said, even if it's half, call it 25 tons. 25 over 500 is a very, very small, component. So you got like 95% of the tonnage is coming into that building. I said, well, let's get rid of it. But the only way to do it, really, and I understand your concern, the only way to do it is to incentivize people not to come, provide an alternative. He's the only one in town that can provide an alternative in another way. And I think that we're giving them a very big project here. And I think certainly a profitable one. I'm sure he wouldn't be doing it. Is it free to pick up curbside recycling and trash? No, of course
Certainly
not.
wasn't free to buy 14 acres down the street.
No,
from a
absolutely
place that
not.
you just leased
Okay,
for 10
so-
years.
No, it's not.
Saying.
Well, and there may
But-
come a time when the town wants to negotiate that kind of a curbside pickup and incentivize people, and then the use of the area, the drop-off area that you're concerned about becomes less. That may happen over time, but the town
Hey,
isn't
but,
there,
given
but the town
permitting,
isn't there
the
now.
permitting will be there and he'll have the use. I mean, I know you're a good neighbor, don't get me wrong, and I 100% agree with this stuff. I'm not suggesting that.
But the town isn't ready for that now.
Isn't ready for what?
Eliminating the ability for people to come and drop off their trash at the transfer station.
They don't have to do it
That
now, they
really
can
is
do
a
it after
town-
it's built.
That's really a town policy type of decision, I think, and incentivizing your residents, which is really something very separate than what we're talking about for this project. What we're talking about is having the ability, we're not proposing an increase, certainly not a substantial increase in the residential drop-off over what we have now. We're
No,
just
none.
making a better location, a more efficient location for it at the new site.
Mhm. I agree with that.
And if the town decides it wants to incentivize and can negotiate with Jason to do that at some point in the future, then that's great, then that's what happens, then that area maybe isn't used.
Is there an agreement in place now for trash, for residential curbside? How is, it's done privately, obviously.
Correct.
Is there any agreement with the town that sets pricing, or is there
No.
anything that obligates you right now to provide that service to Georgetown?
No, the only agreement I have is with the Board of Selectmen that I keep the price of drop-off at a reasonable price, and they approve the pricing.
In the lease for the land?
Yes.
Yeah. And so that lease will go away, obviously,
But I would agree to enter into the same type of agreement.
right? So you'd have it wouldn't be a lease anymore, it would be a trash recycle agreement, because the municipal buildings are no longer necessarily gonna be picked up unless you agree to do it, which you already said you would. And I agree, that has nothing to do with this. This is the town, but if the lease goes away, I mean, the requirement to do that is in the lease.
Mhm.
Maybe you would offer to do it anyhow, but it's in there, it's a requirement, along with the pricing and everything else, and the fact that recycle for residents is free and all that. That's, you're obligated to do that in the lease.
Correct.
Which will, once you no longer need that land, will go away. So you bought this land, that lease evaporates. Now, your intent would be to enter into a new service agreement with the town for trash and recycle collection, I'm assuming complimentary for the municipal buildings in town. So I'm suggesting if that were expanded to residential as well, then there would no longer be a need for that whole section of this facility. You could still clean out your basement, you could still drop off a couch, you could still do large item recycling, you know, and it would eliminate all this additional potential detriment to the district. But, anyway, that was my idea, that was my thought, okay? I'm not saying I'm gonna stand here and, you know, I don't know exactly what I think about this being light industry, but, you know, it was something I wanted to talk about to see if it was, you know, even feasible, because this is a major expansion that exists in town now. And I don't think surrounding towns that have similar drop-off facilities are even close in size and scope to what's being asked for here. And, you know, it is gonna generate traffic in town. Well, if we're gonna generate some traffic in town, and certainly at this site, can we eliminate it someplace else? That's all I was going with this.
Mhm.
Seems an obvious solution is, well, let's eliminate everybody that doesn't necessarily have to go over there if they were to subscribe to your current service. They wouldn't need to go over there. So, anyway, that's where I was coming from with that. So, that being said, you can finish your straw poll.
Can I just make one more comment if I?
Yes, sir.
So I think the other thing for the board to consider is, you know, obviously, this is a state-of-the-art facility, it's gonna improve processing. There may be people out there that are deterred from going to the existing facility because of the traffic issues. So I think it's prudent to keep in mind that with efficiency, you know, if it's easier now to go in and to go out, you could see that spike in terms of residential people that decide to drop off, so. I don't know how you do that within a traffic study, but my guess is that it would be more of an invitation for people to come because it's a lot more efficient.
I guess just to put, thank you, and
Sure.
to put the table one into perspective, the proposed trips at 280 and 610, that's 500 tons, right? That's like, is that max?
Correct.
So, you talked about there being some sort of ramp-up period to get to the 500. You might not even ever get to the 500. What does that increase in frequency look like over a duration? Like, what do you see, like, you know, you finish it in 2020, and in 2021, January 1st, you open your doors, you know, what does that look like to get to 500 tons do you anticipate over time? 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?
I'd probably say closer to 10.
So
I could see it going to 100 to 200 within 5 years, but none of that would be overnight.
It's a tricky situation, Jeff, when we're asking possibly, and I think your solution is viable, but there's no way that he or we could make a determination about this without a couple more months of working through this with the town. I think the logistics of it is more than what we're capable of doing for what we're being asked to do.
You know, I don't wanna ask for more traffic analysis. I don't think, I'm not gonna sit here and analyze, unless we get somebody in here to analyze it, you know, I'm not gonna sit here and say whether another, whatever it is, I don't know how many of those cars would come anyways, half of them, whatever, 250 additional cars a day. If that was eliminated, is that gonna make a difference to the people that work on that street and the intersection and all of that? So, you know, I'm just saying that this appears to be a no-brainer as far as a way to significantly reduce the amount of vehicles being attracted to the site, which was a concern from the beginning, both at the existing site and I think it's still somewhat of a concern here. Can it handle it? Yeah, I don't know. But
Yeah,
you know.
where I'm at, and I agree with the proposed idea in, sort of in a vacuum, but when I sit here thinking about it from where we're coming from as a zoning board, I don't know that that's a major condition that we'd have to place on there, that one, I don't think the applicant would agree to, and two, it feels like it's starting to get into policy that I don't, the weight of that type of condition, I don't know that I'd be comfortable with putting it in there, but I'm really struggling with it, cause yeah, it makes sense, like, I get it, it would help me get to light industry a little bit better, cause I think,
Hey, we don't all have to agree either. I mean, that's the point of the straw poll, so I'm just saying, whatever. I mean,
And the truth, I think it is
done this for
100%
12 years and
policy.
we've always.
yeah, I mean, if we were the selectmen up here or some other board that had that within their purview, I just feel like we need to make a finding, and I'm comfortable enough making a finding that it's either light industry or use like that's permissible for them, but I'm struggling. I don't think I can, I don't know.
Well, the planning board is gonna have to deal with the traffic issue, and having seen this hearing, they may, well, no, they may address that more specifically, saying, hey, there are some other options for dealing with traffic here, if traffic's really an issue. Again, living on East Main Street, are you kidding me about traffic? I mean, it's,
Could we, Jeff can ask you, could we write a letter to planning? Could I write a letter to planning, or, on behalf of the board about some of the concerns that we raised? And some of the, proposed during board
I think their
discussion?
concerns are gonna be equally, I mean, unless there's zoning use specific concerns, and generally when we do a condition, it's because we came up with something we're putting into condition, and we have referenced site plan review, approval, saying we wanna make sure you look at this specifically because things came up in our hearing that raised an antenna that said, we know you're probably gonna look at this anyway, but, and we've done that on a few decisions lately, but, I mean, traffic on the site, they're gonna do it. I mean, we have a letter in there from the town planner as far as what they're gonna review. And it's all in there, so.
Can I ask a
I
different
don't know if it's
question?
necessary unless there's something that you think they might not catch.
Right, okay.
They don't have approval, we give the approval for the use. They
Yeah.
can't then deny the use and say, they'll do whatever they're gonna do and try to fix as best they can or make this as efficient as they can with whatever concerns they may have. But, anyway.
Can someone help articulate for me the nuances between which decision? So I forgot how you phrased it, like, in the alternative, you could either make the case for use, or you could make the case for
So you
something
have to do a
else.
finding, the finding is either light industrial.
Right.
Or similar to light industrial.
Or you could choose that,
Yeah,
the
those are
transfer
your two
station is
choices.
something else, and I'm trying to understand the differences between those two do you
We have town council here, and we
Yeah,
have.
the articulation of,
It was
at
in,
the very
it's in my
beginning.
application, but I can tell you again.
It's in the definition. as
Under
well.
your 165, section 9.
Yeah.
So if you look at your schedule of uses,
Yeah.
a light industrial use,
Right,
which is a broadly defined
Right.
under your bylaw,
right,
and transfer station, I believe fits within that definition, is allowed by special permit. So you can say transfer station is a light industrial use, therefore it's permitted by special permit.
right,
Or you can look at 165-9,
Yeah.
that says the Board of Appeals may authorize by special permit any other use not specifically listed in the schedule of uses. And a transfer station is not a use specifically listed.
and is there?
If such use
Yeah.
is similar in character to other permitted uses in the district
Yeah,
and is in harmony with the general purposes and intent.
and is there an important distinction in which, I don't understand why would we choose one versus the other, or if that's even important, are they equal?
I
Do you
think,
know what I'm
I
asking?
think you can grant it in either way.
In either
And
way,
council
and
is
it
right,
doesn't
and the
matter, there's
statute is
no-
clear. It's more as to what findings you have made as a board as to whether you find it was an industrial use or similar to an industrial use.
5 years
That's-
from now, if they come back before us, are we gonna wish that we went with this alternative versus that alternative? Are they really the same? Just different
really
ways to
the
look at the
same.
same thing?
They reach the same result.
They reach the
and-
same result.
and it has to be held up, and again, if it's ever an appeal, it would have to be held up on the same basis. But
Okay.
again, that's findings that you have to make as a board.
So that nuance is really not important. Okay.
I mean, you're approving that, you're approving what they're designing. I mean, that's their use. They
We have
presented it.
two forks, right, we can either call it,
Right, you can
right,
call it
industrial
what you
use,
want.
or you can call
That's
it.
what is that?
another
Is that
thing.
something that is allowed by special permit or bylaw?
Yeah.
That's the real question, and if you
And
find
it
that
doesn't sound
is
like it's
or
very
similar.
important which one we
Yeah.
select. Okay, that's all I need to know.
It's whatever one you feel fits best in your mind, I
Yeah,
think.
I just was wondering 5 years from now, do we wish that we did it this way, not that way? But it sounds like they're equal. They're just different. Okay, that's
Yes.
fine. That's all I need to
That's-
know.
I would think that
Thank
that's
you.
correct. And your criteria for the special permit, in either case, is listed in the application. And we discussed it during the first meeting, that the requested use is essential and desirable to the public convenience and welfare. And I think having the drop-off that we're providing fits into that as well.
Yeah.
And again, a transfer station provides a very needed service and convenience to the residences and businesses of the town and the community. The requested use will not overload any public water or other municipal system so as to unduly subject any area to hazard affecting health, safety, or general welfare. We use very little municipal services of any kind, electricity, water, any of that is very, very low. The requested use will not impair the integrity or character of the district or the adjoining districts. Clearly not, this is an industrial area. And the requested use will not cause an excess of that particular use, which could be detrimental to the character of the neighborhood. This will be the only transfer station in
Right,
town.
right,
It will
right.
be relocating from a mile down the road here.
Right.
Again, the traffic impacts are already there in the corridor. So, we meet the requirements, under the bylaw for the grant of the special permit, and it certainly is in keeping with the intent and purpose of the bylaw. So we got 3 people out of the poll.
Well, so the voting members tonight would be Jeff, myself, Paul, Gina, and David. Sharon, your alternate.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I
it's
should've-
okay. No, just
should've all let
to
you
clarify.
be.
And I
Sorry.
think
It's
you
funny.
polled, I don't know who you polled.
Mr. Kapnis, Thibodeau, yourself.
Mr. Schillen.
Yes.
Council's polling you.
Oh. It's pulling me as to whether I believe this is light industrial or something similar to light industrial. Yes, I do believe that it's something similar to light industrial. Would you like me to make a motion on that? Is that a finding first?
Yes.
I would make the finding that it is, similar in, the proposed use is similar in character to other permitted uses in the district. And then you need to make the findings that are required for any special permit, which are all listed as usual. Page 66, I think there.
It's on my book with me.
And you'd have to, you just gotta move that the board grants a special permit
Need a book,
to them
Paul?
specifically and so on and so
Yeah,
forth.
I'm just totally ill-prepared to write this right now, so I'm not really sure what to do at this point. So I'm not gonna sit here and write this right now, so, I mean, I'd like to make I'd like to propose that we make a finding that this is, light industrial, but I also would like to, we can vote on making this finding, correct? And then, but I'm not going to sit here and write make a motion afterwards, so, if we need to write it afterwards and take a straw poll right now and we.
Yeah, I can help you I just can't make the motion as the chair, but I can do it.
So, yeah.
Okay,
Take
So-
both sides.
Yeah.
What
So,
page,
what you wanna do.
what page are you on, please?
What's that?
What page are you on?
Section 165, 25. up to you.
165,
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
why
yeah.
don't we take
Yeah,
why don't we
quick
take
recess.
10 minutes?
You want us to do this now? Are you comfortable? Okay. Okay, great. So, I would like to make a motion that the board make a finding that,
Finding 2.
to allow the construction and operation of a transfer station on the property such as use is a use not specifically listed in the schedule of uses and being a use similar in character to other light industrial processing uses permitted by special permits in the CC district. So I stop there. We will vote on that first to make that motion, correct?
You can do it either
Just
way.
keep going.
Or you can
And
keep
further
going.
find
I
that.
further,
Okay.
I further move that the board
I
find.
further move.
I further move, well, am I gonna read, are we gonna go to the permit part of it now, or that, I further move that the requested use is essential and desirable to the public convenience and welfare. A transfer station provides a needed service and convenience to the residences and businesses of the town and the community. The requested use will not overload any public water or other municipal system so as to unduly subject any area to hazards affecting health, safety, or general welfare. The requested use will not impair the integrity or character of the district or adjoining districts. The requested use will not cause an excess of that particular use which could be detrimental to the character of the neighborhood. So that's, again, the finding. Now, are we,
No, that's
That's
vote.
the motion.
Did anybody second that motion?
I'll second that.
Board discussion?
We're voting on
Roll.
the two findings of.
Yeah.
Roll call vote with the, those findings. Dave?
Yes.
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 And I'm voting no.
Okay. So, 4 to 5
Okay,
in favor.
of
With-
this
with Jeff-
finding,
Just for the record, with Jeff, with
Okay.
Jeff, no, everyone else, yes.
yes, okay. But we also now need to vote on granting a special
Yep.
permit, correct?
Which is written right there, I think. If you start with, I move that the board find or grant.
I moved, right. I further move that the board, thank you very much,
Grant.
grant a special permit pursuant to section 165-8 and 9 to allow the construction and operation of a transfer station on the property, period, because we don't need to reiterate this whole thing here about the uses, correct? I mean, that's simply it. I further move, and do you want me to read this again,
Nope.
No,
Okay,
you already made those
very good.
findings. We voted.
Thank you.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those, any board discussion?
No.
Grant. She's already got it written.
They haven't asked us, but we can.
Okay,
Roll call?
Yes.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
And I vote no. I didn't make the findings, so.
Okay. There's 4 to 5 in favor, so the special permit will be granted.
Yep.
And pursuant to Mass General Laws, 40A, Section 9, special permits granted shall lapse within a specified period of time, not more than 3 years, which shall not include such time required to pursue or await the determination of an appeal referred to in Section 17. If a substantial use thereof is not sooner commenced except for good cause, or in the case of permit for construction, if construction is not begun by such date except for good cause. Is that it?
Is that?
What else I need to do?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, thank you.
Congratulations.
very good,
Can we-
thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Should we have said the site plan approval? Or
The
they're gonna do it anyway?
water resource,
Gotta go to the-
does that hearing take place after site plan approval? We're gonna read the bylaw, that's kind of what it says.
Actually, we haven't gotten into that. You can vote on that tonight. We can continue that. We have filed it,
You
so
did.
you have it as part of your package. It was filed on the same date. And what I would suggest that perhaps what we would like to do on that, because of the late hour, is we might want to continue that to your next meeting. And we can discuss that with you in more detail. And I'm imagining that that also may be a situation where on that permit, you might want, some more technical, design done before we get to that point, but we needed to file it all together. So I think for purposes of tonight, I will ask to continue that to your meeting of June, and then we can decide how we wanna handle that at that point.
I know we have another hearing.
Mr. Chairman, can I make one
Yeah, please,
comment
yeah.
on it? So under 165-35, town council is here as well, so while you're both here, maybe we could sort this out, is the second to last line there. The conditions for granting a special permit, this is under the Water Resource District section.
Right.
So on and so forth. And after site plan review has been held by the boards as provided in 165-83, and notice to butters, so on and so forth. And after a public hearing and so on, the SPGA may grant a special permit. Is that I mean, I'm requiring, I read that to say you gotta get site plan approval first, but I'm not sure why.
That's why I was thinking, I'm not sure why either. And I filed it all at once because it's something that should be before you. However, I also think it might be something that we may be deferring until we get either further into the design or we get into the site plan process.
I'm wondering, the only reason I'm wondering is if site plan review will cause some changes maybe in grades or capturing water or something that might perhaps change the design, or some of the findings that have to be made here. In other words, you're gonna have experts review your ability to meet all this stuff, and if
Right.
they make you change some things.
Right. I don't disagree
Maybe that's
with
why.
you.
I'm just,
And we've talked about it, Scott Cameron and I have talked about whether we're really prepared to ask you to make that special permit finding at this point, because there are things that might change during site plan. So, what I think I would like to do, since I'm back before you in June on other matters anyway, is if we continue this till June, and I give you an update after I talk to Scott on where we think we are with whether we want to go forward or whether we want to ask you to table it until later in the process when we get through site plan approval.
We'll write it, there'll be a decision on
Yes.
what the findings in the motion
Yes,
will
on
be
the
voted on.
use.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
And
I
is
did-
it okay to table it for kind of an indefinite amount of time? I know that usually,
Do we have to vote to continue?
No, you don't have to vote at this point because it's not being brought up for you at that point. That part of the hearing is being continued, but that section does make it pretty clear that site plan review should be going first, so.
okay.
It says it point blank, so.
no, we didn't open that. Is
Yeah.
that a separate hearing?
You did open it, I believe.
We did,
at
that's
your
why
first
I
Continue
was.
it until
So
the
how do I,
completion of
so
site.
what do I close here?
I think you can close the decision, the findings, and the special permit, and if you wanna mention under 165, section 35, the site plan review, that part of the hearing is being continued until,
The,
Permit for water
the
resources.
water resource is it's a totally separate
I
application.
understand, yep.
So I think what I'd like to do is have you continue the hearing on the water resource application until your June meeting.
Okay.
And then at that time, I'll be here. We'll continue the hearing that night, and I'll let you know what I'm thinking for timing.
Okay. Our clerk's not here, just full disclosure, she's probably watching this, and if
She's watching
if I
it.
say yes, that's fine, and she might call me tomorrow and say nope.
Nope.
So, I'll
But
let
I
you
think
know.
it's clear that you gotta get site plan approval first.
I think
If
so.
done by
We-
then, great, if not, you may need to.
I think we needed to have this filed, but the bylaw kind of overlaps things. So at the June meeting, I'll be prepared to tell you when we're going to be filing for site plan approval. And it might, and that point, when they're doing peer review and all of that kind of thing, it would be the time to come back to you on that. And I can extend the action date that the
Right, 'cause
board has.
you did file, that was gonna be my question, cause
Right, I
you
would-
paid the fee and you filed.
Right,
and-
so clock is ticking.
Right.
But at the June meeting, I can say, all right, I'm going to extend the action date on this for 6 months or whatever. And that will be covered, so that there's no issue.
I forgot to state for the record that there's a 20-day appeal period following 14 days. The clerk has to file a written decision with the town clerk. A person who exercises rights under an appealed special permit or variance does so at their own risk. Do I have a motion to close the hearing for Carlton Drive relative to the special permit pursuant to 165-9.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we will continue Carlton Drive hearing relative to 165, section 35 for water resources.
Right.
Until June, or unless otherwise Patty tells me no.
Yes, and we'll say on the record that we will not be making a presentation.
Okay.
So we will not be taking up any of your time. It will just be an update of, this is when I'd like to continue
Fair enough.
to, and I'll extend the action date.
June
And that
30th.
June meeting is what date?
Oh,
Will be June.
June 4,
June.
right? I mean,
fourth, I believe.
So you need to make a motion to continue to June 4.
So moved.
Second.
Well,
You kinda did.
Already did.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Do you
All
wanna
those
say it
opposed?
for the record?
Yeah, do I have a motion to continue Carlton Drive, relative to the water resources portion till June the 4th, 2019?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very
Good
much.
evening. Thanks, everybody in the audience for hanging too.
Okay, thanks. Congratulations, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Good time tonight.